just know that if you have to step away or you want to refresh yourself on some of the content, all of this will be recorded and a link available to a private unlisted YouTube channel. We'll have a playlist for the 2025 Summer Chairs Academy there. So it won't be publicly available, but it'll be in your Brightspace course. It's a private YouTube link. And as soon after these live sessions are available to be uploaded, they'll be there. So it's one easy link. So welcome everyone. I know Ali is with us today as our Zoom tech support. She is my colleague from the SUNY Center for Professional Development. So thank you, Ali, for being with us. And I think there may be a couple of housekeeping items that you want to mention to the group before we get started.
Yes, hi, welcome. Nice to meet you. I know some of us have conversed over email, so it's nice to put a name to the face. Yeah, just a couple of things just to make sure that everything runs smoothly. So, if you would like your captions on, Carolyn did mention it earlier, but you can click on the More button at the bottom right-hand side of the bar. And there should be a captions option at the top, or if you have like the widget, you can click on the captions down there as well. Um, we just wanted to ask if you could please stay muted. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to raise your hand, or if you have a question, you can put it in the chat. So this way, we're not speaking over one another or accidentally interrupting one another. So this way, we can make sure that we hear your question clearly. And that's about it. Yeah, I'll be monitoring the chat. Um, so I'll make sure that if there's a question and Carolyn's busy to try to respectfully interrupt to make sure that, your concerns or inquiries are heard. But that's pretty much it. Any questions? All right.
Ali. So she will be with us for today's program. And so we will be together until 4:30 today. So don't worry, we have a 15-minute break for you to rest your eyes, move away from the screens, stand up, stretch, whatever you need to do to remain comfortable and engaged. But we try our best to keep these live Zoom sessions as engaging as possible. So please use the chat. We love to hear your comments. Raise your Zoom hand and unmute and speak. I've got an introductory deck to get you acquainted with what is ahead for this summer. First of all, I want to acknowledge that you are taking on this role of department chair and doing what you can do to prepare yourself as best as possible. You're working in the summer, so kudos to you and welcome. You're in good company. And as the director for the SUNY SAIL Institute, I'm just delighted to be a part of this program again. We've been offering this for a number of years now. I've been in this role for 8 years, and I think this is the 7th year that we've been offering training for department chairs. It's pretty unique that SUNY has something like this to prepare chairs. And so I'm happy that we can walk through this together and feel as comfortable as we can for the unexpectedness of the chair role. So here we are. For today, what we can expect is we'll spend some time getting to know about the program. Introductions will be taking place as best we can in this live Zoom format, but you also have the Brightspace environment set up. So everything that we expose you to in these live sessions will be available in Brightspace at any time you'd like to go and check resources, recordings of the large sessions. We don't record the small breakout rooms, so trust that you have a safe space to discuss things with your colleagues. Um, and we will invite back some past chairs. So chairs that have gone through the academy, they've lived to tell their tales, and they're here to have a moderated conversation with the provost from SUNY Oswego. And so he will moderate and sort of set the stage for what the heck have I gotten myself into as program chair. After that engaging conversation, we'll give you a break. It'll be about 2:30, and you'll have 15 minutes. And then the second half of our program, we will talk about a foundational piece of the SAIL development programs, which we call the 6 domains of knowledge for higher ed leaders. So the full article that was written by SAIL's founding executive director, Dr. Jason Lane, is available in the participant workbook. That's another resource in the Brightspace environment. And our instructor of the online portion of this program, her name is Dr. Leah Diazzi. She will be with us to take us through the 6 domains and really make it more interactive for you. But all of the resources, the articles and the surveys to take and see how you're doing in these areas are available in Brightspace. So there's lots of prompts already set up in there, and should be very clear instructions on what to expect in the modules as we move through each of these weeks. The last hour, you'll hear from me again, and we will start to talk about crucial conversations. So we're working right now that we have a final list. We just extended the registration deadline through the end of the weekend. So we have a nice healthy group size. We have 27 of you, and our vendor, Crucial Learning, is getting all of you set up with a license to be able to take that proprietary training. So this is content that Crucial Learning has offered at SUNY at a discounted rate, and that's totally self-paced. So once your license is set up and your access is available, you'll have a link that you can go in and take that. It will take about 7 hours total. And I say that's the average, but you have a year to be able to go back to that content. We've got some milestones for you to reach in terms of how far in that course we want you to be before you come back to a group practice session and apply some of those skills with your chair colleagues. And so all of that we've got outlined here. And so some people move through it pretty quickly. They can complete it in 6 hours. We call that sort of snorkeling in the content. Most people swim in it at 7 hours, or you can do the scuba dive and deep dive and really uncover all of the videos and activities in there and spend about 8 hours. But on average, 7 hours. So you can do that at your own schedule. And we've built in a nice full week next week where we don't have these live sessions and big chunks of your schedule that are committed already. So hopefully you can find some time to carve out and get to the halfway mark of the Crucial Conversations course. So we'll just start to talk about that a little bit today, and then we will wrap up by 4:30. So the Strategic Academic and Innovative Leadership Institute, that is the SAIL Institute. We are part of the SUNY Center for Professional Development. And the whole purpose is to prepare our leaders, people who are put into roles like a department chair, to understand the core nature of what it is to be a higher ed institution, and to be able to advance you for these roles and prepare you in a way that will make you and your campus successful. So our mission and vision for the Institute, we've been doing this for 8 years, and the Chairs program is really one of the signature programs, and we offer this in the summer. And if you like what you are exposed to, we'll offer another academy, which is fully self-paced in Brightspace, which Leah Diazzi will be leading along with Dr. Jack Oliva. You'll get a chance to meet him as well. So they both lead that in January. So if you like what you experience and you want to recommend this to maybe another chair who who's coming up to serve in this way, we offer these regularly. So every January and every summer, so June to July. And we've got these two different formats, right? So you're in the live version where we have same time meetings on Zoom, where the winter is fully self-paced. So I cannot do this alone, and I just wanted to give you a snapshot of who we get involved to be a part of the SAIL Institute and make all things work. We have people from all across the system and beyond, and a lot of people who've really been serving as a leader, and they love it, and they want to come back and be able to support you as you take on a leadership role. So you'll get a chance to meet quite a few of these folks, and I'm excited for you to be exposed to all their different perspectives on leadership. And we have people who are coming in from many of the different 64 campus locations across the state. And I've got my next slide. You'll see where exactly you all are hailing from. And I like to include the SUNY map because, you may not be familiar with some of the smaller, more local, especially community colleges. So we've got a SUNY map in there for you to get acquainted with one another. So I mentioned we have 27 chairs in this year's experience, and we've got quite a few from the community colleges. So we've got 13 from our various community colleges, and 10 of you from four-year schools, and 4 from our university centers. All right, so we're going to kick things off with a poll, and thank you to Allie for setting up the poll. I would love to know, and we'll see some real-time data flood in about your experience having served as a chair. Most people come in having not served as a chair, but if you have some experience, let us know. Okay, all right, so we've got 100% participation. We're going to see what our data shows us. So we've got 61%. Can you see the results on your screen? Okay, good. Thank you, Doug, for nodding your head. I can see you on my video. So we've got 61% of the group who has never served as a chair. You are in the right place. And then of those 39% who do have some experience, in the chat, if you could kindly let us know how much chair experience. We usually have quite a range. It's just always interesting to see some people who've served as a chair for a decade and they come and they're able to share some of that experience with the group, which is awesome. All right, Ashley just finished her first year. Congrats, you made it. All right, so now you're doing the real thing, Andrew, after being interim chair last summer. Jen, wow, see, Margaret, over a decade of experience, and here she can be a resource for us. So thank you, Margaret, for letting us know. 3 years, 1 semester. Great. So at a different institution. So was that outside of SUNY, Jacqueline?
Yes.
Okay.
Was at a women's art college in Philadelphia.
Interesting. See, we'll have some wonderful conversations, lots of richness with experience levels. Great. Okay. But for those people who have never served as chair, no worries, you are in the right place. And most people who've served as chair say they wish they had this before they began. So you're in the right place to start thinking about what it takes to be successful in this role. All right. We are going to have some icebreaker questions in Zoom, and I'll ask you to put your responses in the chat. But in Brightspace, this is where you can really put more of the color and the detail about your background, your specialty, and meet each other. So there's time and space in that environment for you to put together an introduction as you feel comfortable. And I encourage you to make some time to read about your other colleagues. And it's fun to watch the videos and get to meet people. You really learn a lot about who is in this group. You're going to spend the better part of the summer, 5 weeks together. So please, if you haven't already, log into Brightspace, look for the introductory section, and there's an easy feature to record a video, or if you'd prefer to type something out, that is wonderful. It is not too late. Okay. If you did read through the materials before you registered for this experience, you may be familiar with the learning objectives, and we cover quite a lot of ground in the 5 weeks that we're together. But I want to be clear about what our goals are together. So we want you to have clarity about what the role of a department chair is, and be comfortable with the transition from faculty to chair. And we know oftentimes chairs go back to faculty. And so we talk about those transitions and just sort of prepare you. We do a lot in terms of self-awareness, and the DISC instrument that was sent out, the DISC Work of Leaders assessment link that was sent out, That will give you some clarity, and we've got lots of reflective activities in here for you to gain that self-awareness, which is the first and foremost step to leadership. Who wants to work for a leader that is not self-aware? No one. So we spend time there. It's foundational, and we want you to be able to put your foot on the gas when it comes to your strengths as a leader. There's not one formula for what a successful leader is. And so we want you to have a clear picture of what your strengths are, what you bring to the table, so that when the situation calls for it, you can do more of that. Or if it needs a different set of skills, you know which lever to press. Um, and we'll give you lots of opportunity to reflect on those 6 domains. We'll talk at length about what it takes to, explore the different domains of leadership and be able to put together some actionable goals for yourself for the semester ahead, for your career ahead. We want you to have a plan and an approach on how to strategize for success of your program or your department, and make those plans. Maybe set some metrics to measure at the end of the semester. How did I do? And to be able to look back and reflect on how things went. We'll do a lot of talking and practicing on our crucial conversation skills, because we know that when it comes to leadership, that is a breaking point for people. If they aren't able to get into dialogue when it's uncomfortable, when the stakes are high, that it really is something that can hold you back as a leader. So we spend the 7 hours in the content of crucial conversations, and we practice working through some situations that are close to what might actually happen in your role as a department chair. So we want you to have the confidence to be able to step into dialogue when it's necessary to advance your goals, and work through some challenging situations. We are going to encourage you to be curious and to think about research areas. So a lot of you are from community colleges, and I know that that may not be an area of interest or something that's a priority for your campus or your program. But for those of you that it is part of your professional call, we do have some research administrators who will be coming to talk about ways that you can increase that. So we've got that on the agenda. Um, we also know that chairs are some of the busiest people on campus, and this is new that you'll have duties and administrative roles that are on top of your faculty work and your teaching load oftentimes. So how the heck do we manage our calendar? How do we manage our time, our limited time, and the inbox that overflows? So we've invited in a subject matter expert to help you with some strategies on how to manage your time and be productive. We want you to be able to understand where dollars are coming from and how the important budget is put together, and give you some groundwork to be able to manage the department budget, right? Leadership oftentimes is about managing people and money well. And so the budget part of it is something that we have integrated into the academy. And you'll love our speaker for that, Dr. Sue Phillips. Beyond this academy, we know leadership never ends. Leaders are readers, and so we're going to encourage you. Often we'll mention a book. So if there's something that you want to sort of dig into, we'll have a growing library of books that you can read for your leadership development. But we've also invited in an author of a book. His name is Dr. Chris Holcomb, and he does a lot to support department chairs, even runs a conference that he'll talk about that's for department chairs. It's outside of SUNY, but we want to expose you to some more opportunities to continue your development beyond the summer. You all have a new network, right? You're meeting chairs from different institutions. They should be great resources for you. Oftentimes we feel alone in leadership. And so now you have I'll even give you a broken down group of peer coaching groups, so that you can have a close group of chair colleagues that you can reach out to. These are people outside of your institution, so you don't feel so lonely when there is something that you don't know who to reach out to. or who to bounce things off of. So you've got this network, you're in Brightspace, the roster is there so you can see everyone's contact information and begin those conversations and dialogues there now. And it's very important for you to be able to create a space that your colleagues feel comfortable, they feel a sense of belonging, inclusion. So we will have some conversation about expanding, bringing in faculty in a diverse way, thinking about diversity and making sure that the environment that we're creating as a leader is one where people want to show up and do their best work. So we will talk about that, and one of my favorite parts of the program. All right, so we have a set of ground rules for working with one another. We've got some things to talk about here, and I encourage you, if there's something more that you want us to consider as a ground rule for being together, put it in the chat or raise your Zoom hand. But I encourage you to be open-minded. Not all ideas that are shared are going to be things that resonate for you or things that, feel authentic to you. And that's okay. And so we want you to do more listening than, responding. So really listen, and then respond. And please always remain respectful. And when you are able to be more empathetic to some of the challenges of others around you, it creates a really great learning environment. So be empathetic. I love to remind people to ask for what they need, right? We've got a roadmap for the 5 weeks ahead, but if there's something that's missing, something that you really want, we are a resource for you. So I'm happy to support you in the ways that I can, connect you with another person across the system or another opportunity to develop in a certain way. So please don't be shy, ask for what you need and remain engaged, right? So I know it's the summer, there are plans, we understand that. But the more that you're putting into this, the more you'll get out. And so we will be live in these Zoom sessions. Please try not to multitask and check your inbox while you're doing this. We understand if you have to step away and there's a conflict in the schedule, we're recording the session, you can go back and catch up. All of the slide decks that are presented are also going to be posted afterwards. But please remain engaged and just think about where you're going to be in the world during these live sessions. So the more you can carve out a quiet work environment for yourself, the better. And let us know how we're doing. So we won't bombard you with surveys after each of these sessions. That's way too much. But at the end, we do ask for you to respond to our Survey Monkey and give us some honest feedback. What did we do well? What did we leave out? What can be eliminated? But we really do look at that feedback at the post-program survey, and we use it year after year to make this experience better for chairs. And yeah, Vegas rules apply, right? So we want this to be a place where you feel comfortable to share real challenges across your campus. I know we've got a few people who are here with colleagues that are from their campus, and so that's why Vegas rules apply. All right, so we do have one more session this week, which will be on Thursday afternoon, so 1 to 3:45. I ask that you complete your DISC Work of Leaders assessment before coming into that program. If there is any possibility of you completing it by Wednesday at the end of the workday, that would be great. Then I can look at those results before we get into our group session that afternoon. And if you've had any trouble getting the link to complete it, once you get it and you click in there, it should only take you about 25, max 45 minutes. But have a quiet space to be able to focus on it, and you'll be able to look at your results right away. It's about a 20-page report. You can quickly glance through it, but then we'll have time together on Thursday to work through the results. We will have no live sessions the week of 4th of July, so next week. We do still have activity happening in the Brightspace environment, so you can manage your own time that week. We'll have a lot on reflection, and you will also by then have the link to start your crucial conversation. So we expect that you'll be able to use that week to get into that course. you each picked a 1 hour time slot to be able to practice in a smaller group. So there'll be less than 12 people in each of those small practice sessions. And one of those time slots hopefully works for you, either 9:15 in the morning, 10:30, or 1 o'clock. We do have Allie with us here if there's any question or confusion about which session you're signed up for. But we use the same Zoom link for all of our live Zoom sessions. So we keep this really easy. If you ever get confused, you've got that live link right there. And it's also posted in Brightspace. So just join when you're able, whichever slot you signed up for on the 10th. And by that date, if you can complete half of the course, the first 5 chapters of Crucial Conversations, that would be great. July 15th will be our next half-day session. And so we cover a lot of ground on that session. So we'll talk about time management. We'll talk about adjuncts and working with part-time and contingent faculty. We'll talk about our hiring practices and making sure that we're pulling from as wide of a pool and using our DEI principles in the workplace, and also about managing the budget. The second practice session, so that next milestone to complete your Crucial Conversations work, you'll want to finish that by at least the 21st, maybe the morning of the 22nd, and then you'll have a 1 hour practice session, and those practice sessions will work through some case scenarios. And our final session, we do celebrate your achievement here, and that will be on July 24th, so exactly 1 month from today. And it's another afternoon session. Most of these are afternoon sessions, with the exception of July 8th is a morning session. And if you signed up for one of the morning sessions for practice, but most of these are afternoon sessions, and so hopefully this will fit in with your schedule. And we will see you on Brightspace too. All right, so I've talked a lot about the DISC Work of Leaders assessment. I say complete by today, it's actually by Wednesday, so you've got another day if you haven't done that yet, but all of the emails have gone out. But if you had any trouble, please let me know. You can use the chat here, you can send me an email, but whatever you need to be able to complete that by Wednesday would be wonderful. All right, there's not a lot in terms of work in between the sessions. You will see all of that clearly laid out in the modules in Brightspace. And you'll have a chance to connect live with Dr. Diazzi too today. So she's really going to be your resource, your main instructor in that online space, but you can reach out to either of us for questions about anything related to the Chairs Academy. Okay, here we go. We're jumping right into our icebreaker. So use the chat for this. My ideal day off would be spent, and we're going to look at the chat here as we. How would you spend your ideal day off? Not reading email. That's funny. With the grandchildren, yes, that would be lovely. Good. A lot of people want to be reading a book. Hopefully some leadership books are in the mix. Walking the dog. I've got a puppy at home, and you see me in the office here today because the puppy would not make this a quiet workspace for me today. So my high schooler is off. He's done with the main part of school, just a couple of finals left. Spa day. Can I join you, Margaret? That sounds nice. Friends and loved ones. Yes. Sounds lovely. I didn't see anybody with extreme sports, no rock climbers or whitewater rapids. Oh, that's nice. Great. All right, next question. Hopefully everybody had a chance to tell me about their ideal day. If I could have dinner with one person, past, present, they can be real or imaginary, who would it be? Carol, right out with it. Yeah. Nobody has put they want to go to Venice with there's the billionaire's wedding there this week. So Beyonce, yeah. All right, I'm putting somebody in here. Maybe you've heard of her, maybe you haven't. But Gail Simmons was one of the hosts of the um, uh, cooking shows and Top Chef, and she just knows so much about food, and she's just really cool. So I'd want to hang out with Gail. Sherlock Holmes, you're making me laugh here, Shushma. All right. So, what's your favorite part of your job? I know we're catching you at a time in your career where, things are stepping up and you've got even more to do than before. But what is your favorite part? Teaching. All right, look at all that. Loud and clear. We've got some real teachers here. Being in the classroom, sharing what you love, passionate about your students. Puzzles. Yeah, my background is in curriculum development and instructional technologies. So I've got both of my degrees from University of Albany, go SUNY. And so, yeah, I love the challenges and solving puzzles of how to approach content too with curriculum development. Great. All right. If you were sent to a deserted island, what would you pack? One thing. Now you know a little bit about me. I need my good coffee. All right, what is a Leatherman tool? Is that like a pocket knife, like a multi-purpose tool? Okay, the cell phone. Yeah, that's funny. You can do a lot with a phone. It's a good choice. The pontoon boat. Oh, so for anyone who is familiar with some of the other SAIL programs, our most popular program is the Summer Leadership Program. It's always offered. SUNY takes over a conference center in the middle of the state, the White Eagle Conference Center, every first week of August, and we'll be there again. There's a local person who has a pontoon boat, Alan the boat guy. He's in my cell phone, and we organize a pontoon boat ride. So anybody who's looking for a retreat experience focus on leadership development, we've even got the pontoon boat, a regular boat. Okay, fishing pole. Good. Solar power. All right, to relieve stress. This is intentionally asked, right? Like as a leader, as somebody who's got a lot going on, you need to know what it is that can get you into that flow state, that mindfulness state of being, so that you can keep going, fill your own cup, walking and exercising. It's a little tough to do the walk today. It's almost 100 degrees here in Albany. But yeah, walking is wonderful. Praying, yoga, got a few yogis. Look at this. We should have done this in person, had a little yoga built in. Walking the dog, swimming, Pilates. Yeah, for me, it's praying and running. So got good company here. Good. And cooking. Yeah, I've got some chicken parm I'm planning to make this week. Good. All right. At this point in the program, I am going to ask Allie to open our breakout rooms. We're going to give you 12 minutes to meet your colleagues. So before we do that, actually, Allie, give me one more minute because I want to show them which group they're in.
Yeah, sure.
So we've got 27 people and we've got 4 people in each of these groups. with the exception of one group, which has 3. And once you're in those small breakout rooms, these are your peer coaching groups. So you'll get to know these folks throughout the 5 weeks pretty well. And I want you to share your name, your campus, what your program or department area is, one professional accomplishment that you've had this year. So what are you proud of? And what is your major goal for the academy? So you've got 12 minutes once you're together. So make sure everyone has airtime to be able to share that. And now I'm going to flash through what the breakouts are for the groups. So just remember your number, because Allie will have the groups set up with numbers, and then we'll ask you to pick your number, join that breakout group number. All right, so here is group number 1, and I'm going to attempt to pronounce your first name. If I don't say it right, please unmute yourself and correct me, because I want everyone to be able to know the proper pronunciation of names. So Ashok.
Ashok.
Sheila. Ashok.
Ashok. Yeah.
Okay, Sheila, Letitia, and Carol. That's group 1. Okay, group 2 is Melissa, Shushma, Samantha, and Jennifer. Group 3, Yokin, Rita, Rodina, and Megan. Group 4 is Andrew, Julianne, Carmel, and Douglas. Group 5 is Aaron, Margaret, Kelly, and Ging.
It sounds like a Ching, C-H-I-N-G. So pronunciation sounds like a C-H, Ching. Thank you.
Group 6 is Mario, Jennifer Temple, Jacqueline, and Giordana. And group 7 is Ashley, Jinsuk, and Jen. Okay, so those are our 7 groups, and we will give you 12 minutes to get acquainted with one another, and we will not be recording this, so feel free to be comfortable and share with one another.
All right, so the rooms are open. You can feel free to join. And if you are having issues joining, I can go ahead and assign you to your room.
When we have 1 minute left, you'll see a Zoom countdown clock too. So if you're not done with the conversation within that 1 minute, it will close the room, but you'll have a timer up on the screen.
Excuse me. So my group is a 7 or 6. I'm sorry, this is a Ching. So which group? Would you mind to check the number? Oh, good. Thank you.
Check the number.
I'm sorry, same here. This is Rodina. Am I group 3?
You
Yes.
are.
Okay. Thank you.
How do we join?
There should be like a little breakout room at the bottom, but if you can't join, I can just put you in your room. Which one? Who is having issues joining? Oh, Andrew. Okay, I got you, Andrew.
It wasn't me that asked, but I also don't know.
I'm asking Aaron.
Aaron.
I'm
Okay,
group 5.
I can tell you, Andrew is in group 4.
I just don't know how to get there.
Same.
I'll get you there. Andrew is in group 4. All right, you should see a pop-up, Andrew. And then Aaron, you are in group 5. I'll assign you to group 5.
Yep.
And then Jennifer in group 1. Almost there. All right, Samantha. Hi, Samantha. I saw your email. No worries.
Thank you.
Group 2. Ramin. Okay.
I'm not in any group. You don't have to worry about me. I'm part
Oh,
of
you're not?
I'm running one of the panels.
Oh, you are? Oh, wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Good.
Just wanted to get a sense of the room.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm lucky enough to have Allie here to support the Zoom today because today's the busy day where I've talked for the first and last hour. So I struggle to walk and chew gum.
You did great. You did really great. No, you really, I was like, oh, this is really interesting.
Resume our recording. Can you see the slide deck? Okay, good. If I can get my cursor over there, that would be nice. There we go.
I don't think we're looking at the slide deck.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
looking at another screen.
That's why it won't let me put my cursor over there. Okay. Thank you.
We can see it now, Carolyn. Thank you.
But we're not on the right slide. Let's see. Okay. I want to make this full screen so that we can use the annotate feature. You had a chance to talk with your peers about your goals and what you'd really like to be able to accomplish through this experience. And so we're going to challenge you to sum it up in one word and also to use the features of Zoom, figure out how the heck to use the annotate. So for me, it's at the top of my screen. It says annotate. I click that little pencil and then a toolbar appears on the left side of my screen. I like to use the T to be able to type text in there, but you can do freehand if you'd like. We've got stamper tools, little tools in Zoom. But in one word, let us know what is your big goal for the summer in this academy.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the directions?
Sure. So challenging you with two things. Sum up your goal for the academy in one word. And then once you know your word, use the annotate feature in Zoom to put it on the slide. So we've got space here, a blank slide. We want to see everybody's goals in one word. You can use whatever font style or freehand color you'd like. Put it on the slide here so we can save it and have a roadmap of where we're headed. We've got
Where can I find the annotate
Yeah.
feature?
Yeah, I can't find the annotate.
You should be able to see it on the screen.
You gotta hover the bottom left, it looks
Oh.
like. You gotta move the cursor, I think. Mine's showing in the bottom left. the
Oh,
green-
is it that little pen in green? I
Yeah, I
see.
think-
There's a
Yes.
little green pen on the left side.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like to add these things in the beginning so that if our subject matter experts come in and they challenge us to do things like use a whiteboard, we've done it, right? So here's a nice, easy opportunity to get familiar with the features of Zoom.
I'm sorry, I don't see the little green pen. Is it at
I'm
on
putting
your
it.
screen?
It should be on the actual the actual screen that like is being shared, and it's on the bottom left-hand corner. Like if you not where the audio is, like right above that, you'll see a little green circle, a little circle with a little pen. And when you hover over it, it goes green and it says annotate.
Okay, I'm not seeing it.
You may have to move your mouse to see it.
If you also, if you go over Carolyn's square and go up, you'll see like
Yeah.
3 dots above her name, and click on that, and you'll see the word annotate.
I see chat and add pin.
Yeah, I can do a screenshot and throw it in.
Okay, thank you.
If I can get to the screenshot now.
It's a not often used feature here, Melissa, so don't feel badly.
Okay.
And it gives people a chance to really type out what they're looking to do. Learning, growth, time management, positive thinking. Twice we see this. Practice challenging discussions, leadership, teach and learn, time management with how to get it all done, prioritize, connect, learn how to annotate. Wow.
And right.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Oh, Carolyn's screen. Okay, so It's like there.
You see it?
I'm looking at the picture here, so let's
Yeah, I
see.
just hover it up, go above her image, and then it popped up.
Seconds. We just want to give people an opportunity to get that on there, and I'm going to save it. So I'll post this in our Brightspace environment.
Interesting.
I never used this feature before.
Yeah, me neither.
So we're already getting you to stretch and grow out of your comfort zone.
There you go, like check learn.
All right, I'm going to save that. And we're going to clear it. Okay. I have one more thing to challenge you with. And this is around, oh, if I could get back to my slide deck, I could. So you're not the only one struggling here with technology today. So usually I can go through a slide deck, no problem. My last slide, it's challenging me. So I will just talk through it. I'll stop sharing and just talk to you. Self-care is something that as a leader becomes more important. So I asked you, how do you relax? These are the things when you have little pockets of time each day to really think about, like, is it getting your hands in your garden or going for that walk when it's maybe a little too hot? But like, what are those things that will sustain you and make sure that you have what it takes to be able to serve others, right? We can't pour from an empty cup. And so I love to talk to new leaders, especially about the importance of self-care and how to make this a culture at your campus, in your team. So modeling it, nominate, go if you have those regular team meetings, nominate somebody to go first and say, I would like you to focus on your self-care for this week ahead. So I know you like to play the guitar. So I want, they can pick whatever it is for them, but you get to know your colleagues a little bit better when you know what they like to do to relax and unwind, and challenge them to focus on it and prioritize it. And then the next time you come back together, you check in with the person. How did it go? Maybe they played a show, and they really were able to lean into that. And then they nominate somebody else on the team. And so this is a nice activity that you can do as a new chair to set that as a standard for your culture and how you operate with one another. You get to know each other, what you do outside of work, how you relax, and are you prioritizing it? And then you as a leader making sure that they are taking care of themselves, right? So that's the self-care leadership challenge that I put out there to all of you. And I will share the slide deck. It has my contact information, but you can also reach out to me in Brightspace. So sorry, I went a minute over into Ramin's time here. I know he's eager to start to talk to our experienced chairs about their experience in this past year serving as chair. Some have even more than a year of experience as a chair, but he's got some wonderful people who he's invited in to talk to you and set the stage for you in your role as a chair. So thank you, Dr. Mohammadi.
Carolyn, thank you very much. Hi, everybody. I am Ramin Mohammadi. I'm the Associate Provost here at SUNY Oswego, and in my role here at Oswego, I do a number of things, and one of them happens to be running a chairs workshop for new chairs every August. So when Carolyn asked me to help, I was eager to do it. Very happy to be with you all. I just finished my 40th year on my campus. So 11 years as department chair in computer science before I moved to the provost office. So just a bit about my background. I believe all of my colleagues are here. I'm just going to ask them to introduce themselves and say a few words about their experience, especially the beginning part of their experience. As some of you are new in your work, I think it'd be kind of nice to hear that you probably are not alone in the level of confusion and potentially not knowing what you're supposed to do that you probably have experienced. They are all on the screen at this point. I'm just going to go based on what the screen says. Melissa, can you introduce yourself and talk about yourself a little bit?
Hello, everyone. I am Melissa Bowles, and I am the incoming chair at Columbia Green Community College for the Division of Natural and Social Sciences. The natural science include everything from anatomy and physiology to chemistry to physics to any of the biology courses. It also includes the social sciences from psychology, sociology, criminal justice. So it does have a lot of disciplines in the division. The division size is about 30 people, 9 full-time faculty members, 2 staff members to support the sciences, and 20 adjunct instructors, part-time faculty across the various disciplines. This chair position is elected. So we serve at least 1-year terms. So it'll be my first year as the division chair of the Natural and Social Sciences. A couple years ago at my college, we were reorganized from 6 divisions down to 4. When I attended the Chair Academy, I was the chair of the Natural Sciences, and I served in that position for 3 years. And then it got eliminated because a new provost came in. You'll see that as a common theme in higher ed with shifting sands, with a new leader comes in with the president and provost levels, and things shift and change. So basically, the natural and social sciences were combined. And Barbie Schaefer is also on the call. She took on the first year of leadership in the new division, and now she is the outgoing chair for this larger division, and I am the incoming chair. And leadership these past years has been a real privilege to me. And I have all of those 30 bosses in my division that I try to make them the best they can be at their jobs, to make them effective in their classrooms and their recruiting of new students. And for me, 2 goals I have continuously worked on have been time management and effective communication, because we want to inspire the others around us to be the best version of themselves, to if they need a mentor, a coach, some inspiration, some explanation as to why administration is making certain moves. So that effective communication is key. And I also congratulate all of you for doing the Chairs Academy, because you will think about many of the things that are said to you here. Like, I remember hearing things like, don't take it personal. It's not about you when people are angry. And I remember people saying, actually, the chair is one of the most difficult leadership positions, because you have to live with the people you make those decisions about. So I'm elected chair, so I do part-time administration, part-time teaching. So I may be walking down the hallway on my way to teach my microbiology class, and some faculty member comes up to me just briskly upset about something or another. So you just kind of have to roll with all of that and make it the best for the people that you serve.
I like the way Melissa said she has 30 bosses. That was good. Barbie, you're next on my screen, so please.
Sure thing. So Melissa already gave sort of an introduction to our institution and the structure. Similar to Melissa, I served as the chairperson for the Division of Social Sciences for 4 years before we had the restructuring, and then I was elected, we'll say that, not I was thinking throw under the bus, but I'll go with elected, the chair of this newly formed larger division. I will say, while Melissa said that leadership is a privilege, I agree with that. But I also feel like oftentimes division chairs are the reluctant leader. I certainly found myself in the position where a lot of folks were asking me, will you take this on? We trust you. Will you help us? Will you do this? And eventually you just kind of say, sure. And you find yourself in this position where you are, to Melissa's point, answering to about 30 people. By the way, that only was the faculty and staff. We didn't think about all the administrators we're also answering to. So you end up in this just strange world sometimes of being a division chair. I will say, all of that said, it is a rewarding position as much as it comes with its challenges. I do want to make sure you understand there are rewards to it. I think it's amazing what I've been able to accomplish the last few years in terms of curriculum development, in terms of interdisciplinary work, in terms of like doing things that I really just didn't have the opportunity to do just being in the classroom, sort of coming out of the classroom and going to curriculum committee meetings and sitting with leadership and discussing the path forward was all just a really rewarding component of the work. I would also say too, I'm super proud of the relationships I was able to build in this role. For me, community has always been important. It's one of the reasons why I think I'm at a very small community college. I take community seriously. And I think one of the things that you'll find is that if you're able to build that sense of community, you really just have pride in like helping faculty find their way, helping them move from an idea to actually implementation. Like there's a lot to say about the beautiful work that we get to do. So that would be my sort of intro here.
Thank you, Barbie. John, you're next on my screen.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. John DeSpagna. I spent 7 years working as the chair of Accounting and Business Administration Department at Nassau Community College, and now I'm serving as a dean overlooking some of the liberal arts areas. Our college went through a reorganization. We went from 30 academic departments down to 6 academic departments in the past couple of years. So there's been a lot of change. Change is all what's going on out the world. You have to be aware of that if you're going to be a chair. As you're a chair, a couple things that I would keep in mind. You're going to have so much put on your desk. You're going to be inundated with emails. Prioritize. I would always come in every morning. What are the top 3 things that I want to get done? That would go to the top of the list. And then there was always that one thing you don't want to do every day when you're driving into work. Do that first. Get it off your plate. Okay. Another thing with the prioritization of time, if there was ever any type of student issue or student complaint, I jumped on it. Okay, that's priority 1, taking care of the students. And obviously you don't want to get it elevated higher up than you on the chairs level. So take care of the student complaints right away. A couple of the other things to look at is delegate. You have very good people working in your departments. If there's a certain discipline you're working with and you're not an expert in that area, relying on someone who's a senior person that you can work with and trust. And I did that, with someone with accounting. She was terrific helping out there. I said, what do you think we should do here? Get her input. That also helps with the buy-in that you're communicating with the curriculum committees, which is important. Another thing is don't personalize any type of pushback that you get from people. You're going to be a chair. You will get pushback. Things make their way to you when people agree with you or if they disagree with you. Realize people are going to disagree with you. Don't personalize it. Don't internalize it. That's part of the position. What I experienced as chair and now as a dean with people just say not agreeing with you, totally different level there. But once again, if you're not sure of what to do, go to your contract, go to your policies, talk to your dean, and they will provide guidance for you, labor relations, whatever the case may be. Always keep in mind, do what is best for the student. That's what drove me all the time. Academic excellence, academic integrity. That was not, going out the door. That was always the priority 1. That's, we're all part of SUNY. That's part of what we stand for. Also, work with people who, let's say, who are new on board with adjuncts or new faculty. Help train them. Make them feel comfortable with you because they're going to have questions. Anytime a new adjunct came aboard, I go, we're going to sit down for an hour, ask me all your questions. Part of that with the training is when adjuncts came aboard, I work with the curriculum committees. We set up 2-page business curriculum guidelines, accounting curriculum guidelines, how you want the course. Maybe you have X amount of exams every 3 weeks. That's up for you to decide there. We also set up distance education shells. So all the courses are web enhanced. You may get pushback from people saying, I've been doing face-to-face for 30 years. I don't want to have a shell. Well, when students graduate from high school, I have high school friends that are high school teachers, and they all say they have a shell. If you're out for a week, you go right to the shell. So we developed on the department level 8 different components you'd have to have in a web enhanced shell: course outline, syllabus, announcements, weekly assignments, modules. It's there so the students don't get lost. They expect that coming in from high school. Work with your distance education team. I'll leave with this, keeping it short. Walk through the hallways. I always made it a point to walk through the hallways in the morning and the afternoon, and I wanted people to interrupt me. What's going on? What are the issues? What's good? What's not so good? And people will be happy to share their opinions with you, okay? And it's not all good, and that's fine, because if you catch it in the hallways, you can address it right then and I heard, no, here's what's going on. Talk to people, walk around, and I think that helps also.
That's great, John. Thank you. Thank you. Crystal, you're next in my screen.
Hello, everyone. I am Crystal Jubilee. I am at SUNY Corning Community College, and I'm the Director of Nurse Education. This is a position I'm going into my 8th academic year. I came from the outside. It was a position that I applied for, and it's completely administrative. We are allowed to teach up to 6 credit hours. So I have stepped in when our faculty went down during COVID, when we lost faculty. And I enjoy when I get to go back into the classroom with our students. I absolutely love my job. I love my team. I love what I do. I said that this was made for me. I love nursing, and I love nursing education. I came into a job where the theme was nurses eat their young. So we had a very toxic environment, and I don't function in an environment like that. I don't do well. So we had a lot of turnover because people just wanted to continue to eat their young. And we can't teach students to take care of people and to be compassionate if we're not going to be like that with our students. So I've created a very inclusive environment. Everyone has a voice in my department. I listen to everyone. I would have to agree with John, where you walk the halls, you keep the doors open. I would say that my team knows that I will jump in at any moment to help them out. I look at us as a family, our team. We have very good communication with each other. I pride myself on communication. I always treat people the way I want to be treated. When I have to deliver something that someone may not receive well, I think about how I would want someone to talk to me. And you will have pushback with things, but I think I've gotten a lot of buy-in with my faculty because I give them a voice. There are times when, their voice can't be heard because things come down from administration and it's not going to change what we have to do. But I'll allow them to, go around the table and, give their gripes about why they can't do this. And, we just do it because we have to. We've been told that we have to do it. But I think allowing them to have a voice. Our students are the focus of everything that we do, how we treat students, the students that we take in. We have a lot of students that, some come unprepared academically, they have social economic challenges, but we're there for them. And I think that's what I love about my team. Communication, I have excellent communication with my dean, which I think is really, really important. And that has helped us to just, grow our program, get the things that we need within our program. So yeah, it's just something that I really enjoy. have a great team. And like I said, you'll have pushback. You have to set limits. You have to be afraid not to say no to things. And my faculty, they do laugh because I'm like, oh, no, I'm not doing that. We're not doing that, you know, but you have to pick and choose your battles. And I advocate for them. That is one thing that I do. They know that I will advocate for them to as much as I can to get them the things that we need. And even when sometimes we're told no, we can't have that, they know that I went to bat for them. They know that I see them and that I hear them. And I am blessed. Like Melissa said, it's a privilege. I find it a blessing to be able to lead this dynamic team that I have, and I don't take it for granted.
That's great, Crystal. Thank you. Sarah, not last but not least.
Yay! I'm Sarah Hamilton, and I am in the music school at SUNY Fredonia, and I have been here for about 30 years, and primarily teaching at first, although I ended up leading our personnel committee, leading our performance area, so I was always involved in some kind of leadership, and then 3 years ago, I was asked to be our associate director. And initially, it was a more advising and scheduling, and it sort of moved into a super chair position. And then I have been involved in splitting our department, speaking of change that is happening all over. And our reorganization is to split our approximately 100 faculty and the degree programs into 3 departments. And so my primary job this year has been to facilitate that, and it's still ongoing. There are still pieces to do. If you asked what I was the most surprised about in academia, it would be to realize how much we actually are involved in the creation of degrees, structures, and how everything isn't already set in stone, as I somehow, as a young faculty member, imagined. So I've actually delighted in being a part of that process and trying to make it as clear and as easy for all the faculty and students. I would say my joy is in facilitating and empowering the faculty and students and sort of working through whatever issues that they have, whether it's curricular or just trying to get graduated, and helping both the students and the faculty realize what their power is and what they can do about whatever situation they have found themselves in. I also really like facilitating curricular change and making sure that things happen and they don't get somehow stuck in the layers of process that need to happen for change to happen. I love helping people figure out what is the most important to them and really being able to lean into that. And that brings me great joy. If I have advice, I would say that it is very easy to spend all day, every day at helping people and doing this job. And that's great and that's wonderful, but it is true, as I understand you are talking about, it's important to take care of yourself. I would encourage you all to know your department, know your faculty, know your program, know the students as much as you can, because then you can advocate for them as much as possible. I think as much as you can frame things for your faculty and students so that they can understand what's going on in the context of how they're thinking the best as possible. I think that can be a really helpful function that you can do for them. I think that's all I have to say.
All right, Sarah, thank you so much. So I do want to open the floor for questions from all of you, but before I do that, or as you're thinking through what your question might be, I'm just going to tell you a story, because it both gives you a chance to think through what are some of the things that you want to tap these folks with their thoughts and information, but also kind of set the stage on understanding the type of things that you're going to come across. When I came into the provost office, to be honest, first of all, I really didn't know why the provost wanted me in this position. I was a successful computer scientist and very busy with an NSF grant at the time. And I said no several times before I decided to, what the heck, I should give this a shot. But what I will say this to you is that one of the first things that I observed in that first summer that I was in my position was that we just were running out of seats in general education courses. Now, I'm not going to explain in detail where we were running out of seats in, but I made the observation that when you looked at data year over year, there were certain departments that all of a sudden were offering 100, 150 seats fewer than they had the year before. So you first see that as in and of itself is obvious then why you're short seats in various categories of gen ed. But then you're trying to understand, well, how did this happen? I mean, if you've routinely offered 400 seats in a particular category, why is there fewer seats? So what I learned, and it took in many, many conversations with some of the faculties and the departments that were offering those courses, is that when they would change their curriculum in their own major, the area that suffered was general education. So people were adding labs in bio. That's not true, but I'm just using them as an example since we have a biologist on the panel here. It would be a gen ed course that would just disappear, 100-seat class that would disappear. So one of the things that I was able to institute once I learned I had the power, that's the first thing I will tell you. You do have power. You don't think you do have any power, but you really do. Was that all academic programs, as they're being updated, they have to go through me. Now, I'm never going to tell a dean or provost that we should or should not approve a particular curricular change, but I will tell them whether it has a resource implication. I mean, that is what I'm trained to be able to do. So when I'm looking at a program change, one of the observations that I will share, we have a system, we use Curriculog. I don't know what you folks use in your system. I will articulate very clearly what the impact of that change is going to be. And whether or not the dean or the provost choose to approve it, at least they understand what they're committing themselves to. Because we can't afford to have fewer gen ed seats if that's what we need to serve our students. So again, I'm giving you that one story. I could give you hundreds of stories like that, but you have to pay attention to what the problem is, and then you have to pay attention to, well, what's the cause of it, and what are you going to do about it? Just complaining about it is not part of the job description. So you have to figure out what we're going to do about it. And some of it requires the dean, the provost, the president to agree to do certain things that maybe they didn't know they were supposed to do. But that's part of the job. So I'm just going to open the floor for the participant to ask questions from the panel. You can direct it to a particular person, or you could just generally ask.
I'd like to say something. I liked your story and how you're using really data to drive your decision making. One of the things that's been happening over I'll say the last 10 years, you are seeing with the gen eds and the requirements and the shifting of the gen eds, that first step when they first changed it, courses that we found very valuable from the academic side. Again, I teach automotive, if you don't know that. So we have an associate's in applied science in automotive, and we have 20 credits we need for gen eds. So one of the things that was happening is when all those gen eds changed, it took all the courses that we really valued and found academic courses that were valuable for careers were removed. And it was very difficult to fight that because we were forced to change. And then you can't make academic programs meet certain standards for gen eds if the program, you know, if the programs, if the departments aren't willing to say that that's going to meet those things. So it's out of your control. And we try to push very hard, or advocate is a better word, for our academic programs to do it. Then our gen ed's changed again, and then we're going through that now, right? So as we go through this process, one of the challenges has been, and trying to advocate through the chair, is to say, look, you're making us take these courses that actually now have no value in the real world for our program other than just to meet gen eds. And so that creates a bigger challenge. How does the chair advocate to make sure, or to put in place maybe some way to make sure that the course they're taking will meet the gen eds? So the reason why I share is because the other side of this is there's been a lot of discussion over the 10 years about the academic side of business, right? So AOSs. Now, I believe in academic education. I just think the students are better, they have more opportunities, and I support it, and I'll never change my mind on that. But as we hire new people in, we are hiring them at different levels sometimes, and they have a very different vision of that. So they're willing to support that, which then affects our academic or our gen ed requirements. For those that don't know, your academic requirements for an AOS are not the same. There's no 20 credits, or if it's an AS or an AA, 30 credits, and so on and so forth. So it's been a challenge, and as a chair, you know, when I look at the chair, he also agrees with me, the one that's leaving, that I'm taking the place, and he has also agreed that. But now financial, and the point to this, I had to give you this background because there is a financial implication, which is that once you start removing those courses, it's not just the educational component, it is the financial, and we are definitely seeing the impacts. And I don't really know how we can better sell the two together, like, or how do we make it so that people can really see, one, academically, we care about academics because we need kids to read and people to read and write, right? And I mean, at least at a minimum level, that's efficient for the world we live in. And two, how do we make it so that the institutions that we work for are sustainable? Because our programs like automotive is very, tool and machining, nursing, technologies are very, very expensive. And I hate to say it, but your academics does help offset some of those costs. That's just the reality of it. So how does a chair, with that said, how does the chair advocate for something? How does the chair better push, nudge, whatever word you want to use, to make sure that we are healthy with the current environment?
I'm going to just let Barbie take it, and I have a few comments to make. Doug, thanks for your comment, by the way.
That was a lot. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I totally followed you. Go ahead.
I would
Barbie.
just say one of the ways in which we've addressed sort of having to include all of the gen ed components into our curriculums is to really just get the members of your team together and do a workshop. So we did one not too long ago where we had each of the programs actually sit down and say, look at every history offering that we have. Which one do you think would be the best history for your program? And if it doesn't exist, what should we add to the offerings that would be an appropriate history, for example? I will tell you, we had a history of the automotive on the list of offerings where, you know, okay, that maybe applies to that case. I would never recommend that one for my psych students. But I think if you have each of your team of experts sit down and go through which math would they use most in their everyday work dealings, or what history would actually give them context. For me, in the social sciences, we ended up agreeing that a civil rights history course would be the one that's best for people who are going into the social science field. So I think if you can actually make the case that this is a good history or this is a good math, it actually changes the conversation, because then you will have your experts advocating for those gen eds that are actually really relevant to the program. But also I think students are more willing to pay for a gen ed that they actually see as relevant to what they're going to be doing once they're out in the workforce. So I would tell tell you that's the way I would approach it. Bring your groups together and literally bring a copy of the course catalog and tell them to go through each of the gen ed categories and select the one that would be of most value or identify the one that's missing.
Thank you, Barbie. Anyone else from the panel?
I think we saw a revamp with the gen eds in the SUNY system. We all had to adjust as needed. And I think particularly with like a field like automotive, the students want to say, where is this directly applicable to automotive? And I think sometimes students need a broader view of their education, you know, because taking an English class or a math class or even a science class can generally educate them as they talk to the general public. So the gen eds aren't really meant to train them to be an automotive or train them to be a nurse. They're giving them a solid foundation in the skills. And I was very thankful they didn't mess with the math or science on the gen eds, that we still have to check the box they complete one math class, they still have to check the box they complete one science class. I think they're wonderful. And so finding, as Barbie said, the appropriate gen eds for particular programs to take, you know, makes a lot of sense. I echo what she said about workshopping.
Just another story. I guess this is my story day. Some of you have been around long enough to remember in about 2000, SUNY decided to give us a general education program. To be clear, at Oswego, we already had established a brand new, after many years of discussion, a gen ed program in '98. So what the faculty at Oswego decided to do was to keep the gen ed we had, but add everything else that SUNY wanted us to add. So you can just do the math in your head. On average, students at Oswego, after that move from our faculty, had to take an average of 42 credits in general education. I'm not making this number up. That was the average number. And the reason was they were exempt from their own area of general education, meaning if they were in psych, they wouldn't have to take social and behavioral sciences, as a for instance. I did my best, and I was just a young faculty, to put side by side on what they were asking my students to do in computer science, that none of them would ever graduate with less than 130 credits. This is 122 at the time, 122 credit program. I proved in my mind that they will not graduate with less than 130. But you know, you have to understand there are forces in play that I wasn't smart enough at the time to understand. The faculty that overwhelmingly wanted that, they were all in programs that were in liberal arts and sciences at the time. And they wanted the bigger gen ed. And I didn't really understand that. It seemed so clear to me that it was going to hurt my students. But it was totally unclear to them. Oh no, they can do these other things. Even in the face of exact proof that it wasn't going to happen. So I can tell you, when I came into the provost office, one of the things we were able to do was change general education. Our general education program now pretty much matches SUNY Gen Ed. So if SUNY adds something, we're going to have to deal with it and figure out how we're going to add it. But we don't have this overwhelming, huge general education program that is not achievable by most of our students.
I'm going to jump in with my question, since your story segues really nicely into what I wanted to ask. So I heard you all talk a lot about students, like students are really what's driving us. We want to do what's best for the students. We want to meet the students' needs. But sometimes what the faculty want conflict with what is best for the students. And so just sort of broadly to the whole panel, like, how do you navigate those decisions where you might have faculty and student, you know, decisions sort of butting up against one another?
Well, that's such a great question. I'm just going to leave it to the panel to take a stab at this one.
I'll just jump in and say that I'm always for the student, and my conversation with the faculty will be to remind them that the student is the most important. I have had conversations where I've had to remind people what's actually in the catalog as well, and what the student has agreed to as part of the program. I have certainly had conversations with students with the faculty not there, where I have been clear to the student that I am supporting them. But without getting into any specific situations, I do feel that it has to be said out loud in certain circumstances.
Thank you, Sarah.
I would say the same thing, advocating for the student, but we look at what also is our policy in our NESH, our Nurse Education Student Handbook, that our students sign. So, it's walking that fine line, because you want faculty to also know that you support them. If you're constantly siding with the student, then your faculty is going to feel deflated. So it's having those meetings again, coming into calling sometimes an emergency faculty meeting. I rarely make any decision regarding a student without bringing my faculty in. Because I want them to be included, and I want them to know what's going on. I think sometimes I'm transparent to a fault. I would say that's might be one of my downsides. But I just want us to know, to be on the same page. Like, you might not agree with the page we're on, but I want you to know what page we are on. So I try to be clear about that, but really trying to follow policy, trying to get the background from the student, their perspective, what has occurred, and trying to loop everyone in, because sometimes I'll find that students will try to play faculty or play you. So you say send an email to everyone, and they'll only send it to you, their response, and then I respond back with everyone on it, and I keep responding back, because I'm like, I don't want to play these little games, like mom and dad are divorced, and you're trying to play these games. So it is walking that fine line, but a lot of times, like Sarah said, really going back to our student handbook, to follow the policies that we have in place and that students signed off on.
All right. Anybody else? Go
I
ahead.
would similarly say, if you haven't, you should read your catalog from cover to cover. I think most of us know our own areas very well, but what is the case with the sciences, or what's the case with this program, or what's the specific policy? Read it cover to cover, and I actually have like little tabs on mine, like this is where this policy is, that's where this one is. So I can always come back with a little bit of evidence, like, well, this is what is concretely stated in the catalog. The other thing, I'm in actually a unique position, because not only was I serving as chair, but I'm also our faculty union president. So there's probably no one on the campus who knows the collective bargaining agreement. Yes, glutton for punishment right here. The collective bargaining agreement better than me, but I would say that's the other thing I would read cover to cover. Again, you probably know what is relevant to you. So if you're new in your career, you probably really clearly know things about like promotion and attaining tenure, but there's a lot more in that collective bargaining agreement. And I think there are times when a faculty member can say, well, I don't want to do this, or I do want to do this, where for me it's simply saying, well, according to Article 9 workload, page 43 of your contract, you will be doing this because it's a contractually required thing that you have to do. So I think for all of you, if you haven't picked up those two pieces of reading lately, I would pick them up.
Yeah, that's probably a good observation, Barbie. I do sit on the labor management meetings on a regular basis on the management side, but I do sit on those on a regular basis, and those are always very interesting conversations. I appreciate it. Other comments? Can we move to another question, maybe?
I just wanted to comment. A lot of times when I see student faculty things, it's with a specific course where the students are taking issue with a specific instructor. And so I really take a very neutral approach. I'm going to sit and listen to everything the student has to say And then I'm going to touch base with my faculty member. Maybe the faculty member just does need some professional development, and maybe they do need to be connected to other members of the department. Maybe the student needs some mentoring and guidance and connecting to peer tutoring or counseling or whatever. So it's weird because you kind of are just looking at this problem from the outside in, and you're like, I want to support everyone. The student that keeps reverbing on me and complaining in my office about a course, and the faculty member in that situation as well, so they can improve and grow and know how to handle it before the student eats up a lot of my time.
So I'm just going to give you another quick story. This has to do with when I first became department chair. So we're going back a long ways now. Two students walk into my office and complain that our CS2 course, which is a computer science requirement nationally, is scheduled at the same time as calculus, a particular section of calculus, which is a problem because they kind of need to take both at the same time. So when I understood that, so again, back to what's important about the students, I understood the failure of our system. It wasn't the student's fault, right? I mean, the schedule becomes open, they go to register, they learn that they can't take these two courses at the same time. Clearly, we don't let them, and for good reason, we don't let them take two courses at the same time, but they need both. So I schedule meetings with all chairs in STEM once a year, and we went over our schedules. And they didn't have to change theirs, but I changed mine because I wanted to make sure that our students could take the courses they needed at the correct point in their progress. But again, you have to understand the problem, and then the solution may not be self-evident, right? I mean, I can't make the math department change its schedule. I can ask nicely, but I can't make them change their schedule. But if I know what they're going to do, I can work with our faculty to change our schedule because it's best for our students. Otherwise, they're going to be falling behind, right? They don't take the courses in sequence, they will have a problem. Do we have another question from the audience? We have a little bit more time.
Maybe a question for the new chairs. What are some of the challenges that you see coming on board as a new chair that you have concerns about?
How do you manage change?
Change is part of life. We have to accept it.
Yeah, I understand that, but from a political perspective, navigating, various faculty, various other departments are involved. When a new person comes in, obviously they have different perspectives. They bring different ideas, and there's change happens, but then there's people who have been there for many years, and rightly so, and do an excellent job, but there's a dynamic that happens because the other person is new and doesn't, is not familiar with the process. Then you've got the other people who know the process really well and are happy with the current process. So I'm just curious how those dynamics, how do you manage through them?
So Aaron, do you consider yourself as, are you the new person?
Yes.
Okay. That's important to explain. I mean, you're coming into this position, you're brand new. There are things that you want to do, but there are people that have been doing some of those things for a long time. So that's a really fair question. Folks?
I would say you have to realize, like I just mentioned, change is around us. If you don't change, your external environment is going to change you. In our college, we went from 30 academic departments to 6 academic departments in the past, 2 or 3 years it was. People had, let's just say, their opinions about that. But what the administration did is, this is why we're doing it. We have to consolidate. There were meetings with the departments, with the chairs, with the personnel and budget committees. Everything was reviewed. The college was facing some financial challenges, which we have behind us now. And you just need to adapt to the change, invite people to communicate, say you'd be very willing to listen. And, maybe we can, show some flexibility in some areas. But sometimes, we're going to get marching orders that we have to change. And as a provost, I'm sure you're even more aware of change than we are. So I just say communicate with people.
I would say also, if you're completely new coming in, like I was for a job that I applied for from the outside, there were things that I saw that I wanted to change, but I was an outsider coming in. So I had to build trust. I had to build those relationships. So I had to sit back, take note, and say to myself, okay, let me give this 6 months. Let me give this a year in. These are some of the things that I think we can implement later on, but you have to get buy-in, build those relationships. I could not come in saying, well, at my old institution, we did it this way. My old institution, because they're gonna be like, well, go back to your own institution, So for me, it was really building those relationships, building trust. When you have change, sometimes, like John said, you get those marching orders and there are things you have to do. But other times they're not. They're just things that you like, you think are better. And you just need to sit back and see how they operate and build that trust so that when you do introduce things that you have this idea that it might be a little bit easier to get by it. And that's worked for me. It may not work for other people, but for me, it's about relationships to be able to make my change.
Oh, that's great advice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Aaron, you may be talking about a classic problem of like old guard, new guard, because sometimes you have established people in institution who know how to get things done, they're effective at it, they're well respected, they're well trusted, and then you have new leaders coming into the situation with fresh perspective, fresh idea, and they have a lot to add. I would just be careful of you don't want like an us versus them. You want to sow the line to try to navigate how can we find common ground here, how can we get to an idea that we all can get behind. And I sometimes have seen, like I see a little bit at my own institution of that going on. We have a new guard that's coming in, and sometimes it does feel like the old guard is getting trampled on, and I don't like that. I want us to all come in and feel like all perspectives are valued and everyone is seen and heard, and that's difficult, especially when you have, like as John described. I can't imagine going from 30 to 6. That's a huge upheaval there. We thought our 6 to 4 was a lot, but I can't even imagine that. So you're always going to have that, and you're going to have to navigate it the best you can.
Oh, I think that's really good advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron, for your question.
I'm
Any
gonna jump in with my
other?
question. So my question has to do with transitioning from instructor, where I am a colleague, I'm a friend, to the role of department chair, because sometimes I find it's difficult for me to be in that role as department chair and no longer colleague, where I have to make a decision that affects the department as a whole, and then some of the staff don't see it that way, or there's pushback, or they're expecting me to side with them because we've been colleagues for the last 4 years. So how do you deal with situations like that? Because I find like that's one of my struggles, when I have to say, listen, this is what the expectations are, and it just has to be that way, without upsetting others or creating a little bit of a like a little conflict. How do I deal with that?
Well, you can always blame your dean, so that's definitely one of the things you can definitely do. And most season chairs do approach things that way. But what I will say is this: what you have is as a department chair, a context in which you really aren't people's supervisor. Now, we sometimes we have to write forms that write in forms about evaluation of faculty and so on, that almost imply that we are their supervisor. But the reality is, when you have many people who are full professors, and you're coming in and you're 30 something or whatever, and you're an associate professor just tenured just a year or two earlier, it is a hard thing to just jump in and say, we're going to do things this way, because they have done it a particular way for a long time. But I think you got to give yourself some time to build those trusts that are necessary to lead. it doesn't happen quickly. In fact, I think people fail pretty quickly when they try to overstep too quickly in contexts such as this, because they're really not your supervisees. I mean, it's just not true. I mean, that's not the way our relationships work with most of our faculty, at least at universities like mine. We have very few adjuncts in departments like computer science. We have a handful, well, very few. Most people are tenured, and they're often full professors. What are you going to come in and tell them to do? I mean, it's going to be a really hard thing. So you got to take your time with that sort of thing. Other folks?
I would say the one thing I learned is that they will take you to the union if you got a union. So we joke about that, you know, with people. If you have like, and this just isn't in my department, I've just seen it across campus with other chairs. Like he said, people will become a chair and they're like, I want to do this, this, and that. And you aren't their supervisor. And you start telling them what you want them to do or they need to do, they will file a grievance with the union so fast, it's not funny. So yeah, I definitely think you have to be careful and to build those relationships of trust.
Thank you. Yeah, I think so. I was appointed to the position. Just a little bit of background. The person that was in the position prior to me just left abruptly, and so we had to make a decision as who the department felt was best in that space to lead the department, and they chose me. So what makes it interesting is now that I'm in the position, people have to make adjustments to recognize that my role has now changed from being, although I'm still teaching in a lesser capacity, I now have to make decision that affects the department as a whole. So it's just so, it's difficult because now I'm saying, well, this is the expectation. And they're saying, well, maybe let's try this way. And so sometimes you get a little tug and I have to say, okay, as the department chair, this is what's going to happen. And I could see the little, maybe, but eventually they come around, but it's just like, sometimes it feels a little uncomfortable, having to be in that role. Or even I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, since this is how we're going to progress, I'm going to have a list of expectations that I'm going to hand to everyone. And then we could discuss this expectation, but you have to remember that the expectation is not just from my perspective, it's from the people that are above me. They're telling me this is what they need for this department. And so I'm hopeful that starting in the fall, we can see, a better way forward instead of me always feeling so bad about having to say, this is what I expect from you as my staff. And I'm no longer so much as a friend, but I'm a department chair because I have to separate. I can't have blurred lines because then I think it will create more conflicts than I want to deal with.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're also raising a really important point. Some of the directives you're dealing with are coming to you from the administration, and you're being put in a position where you have to act on those things, whatever they might be. And that is a tough place to be. We do have a session on this that I'm a part of in a couple of days, so stay tuned on managing up as well.
I would say just add this one thing. When sometimes there's a directive that comes down or it's a decision that I have to make that I don't think they're really going to like, especially when we had our old faculty, I would get my ADI and I would have her come in the meeting and I would just put it on her. Like she would deliver it. So like Ramin said, it's like, just blame, administration. I mean, but we had that type of relationship too, where, we worked really well together. And I'm like, I know we're going to get pushback and, this person is going to, she goes, nope, no problem. I'll come down. I will come down to your meeting. I'll log into your meeting and I will deliver it because she's going to get less pushback than I would get.
What's ADI stand for?
Our associate dean.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
I would just add to this, I completely want to validate your concerns. I think for me, I had excellent mentors going into taking on this role. So I knew what was expected of me in terms of policy and day-to-day tasks and all those things. I think though I underestimated the difficulty sometimes in navigating those interpersonal dynamics. There are always those that are certain in you know what they believe, and that you know to try to convince them otherwise is just incredibly difficult. I would say I almost always start those conversations though with like the shared goal. Like our shared goal is to best support our students to the greatest ability possible. Like so we can start in agreement on why we're here, what we're doing, and why we're doing it. And then I also, if possible, try to use data. You know, like, look, enrollment has dropped here and we need to figure out how we can adjust to that. Or, you know, we seem to really not be supporting our students well enough in this particular area. If we look at retention rates, they've gone from 90% to 70%. So then I've kind of made it really hard for them because one, we've identified a shared goal, and two, I've not said this is my opinion, but this is the data. I think it helps me like kind of remove a step out of it. That it's not like this is just what is in the best interest, and we're all trying to get to the same common goal. And I think if we keep coming back to that, it actually de-escalates a lot of those more hostile interactions.
Great. Thank you.
By the way, going back to Erin too, with the how do you bring the new and the old together, I feel like I've been both because at one point I was the new and now I'm somehow the old, and I don't know which I like best. But I would tell you in both cases, at the time, I felt like there was a strong sense of community. And I think for me, that was why it was one of my priorities, making sure there was a community that we built. Because then, you know, like Bill's idea, Bill's my friend. There's got to be something good to that crazy off the wall idea that he has. But I think like when you have a true sense of community, like you have a higher level of respect for others and you are more willing to listen. And for me, like simply that, like I would get a bunch of us to go together to a basketball game, or, you know, at division say like, hey, you know, anybody want to go out for a drink afterwards? But if you can establish like a true community, I think that also helps bridge those gaps between the new and the senior, so that there is a true exchange of ideas.
I think it's a great suggestion. I like that community. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
I think you also have to lead with the idea of mutual respect. Like as the chair, you deeply respect their opinions and their ideas, but they have to respect you as well because you are their colleague, but now you're their chair. And so it has to go both directions. And if you don't have that mutual respect between the two parties, you feel it. And there may be a situation where it's out of whack for one reason or another, and so you have to work on that first, and then you can work on the idea.
Just a quick add to what's been discussed. Yet another example. We have faculty, and you can imagine almost all of them have terminal degrees, and they have a particular perspective about how to be a student. And, you know, if you're trying to do things that supports some of our students, they think it's just hand holding. You're just holding their hands. You're not really letting them figure things out. Now, you provide data on how a Black male, for example, has a 20% more likelihood of not being retained. You provide that information that it's not just a case of not being attentive. There are cultural impacts of the way we do things on the way the students end up performing. So you have to spend time, and often it requires data that shows that it's not just the way you went to school. Some of these students require a different type of support, and we have to find a way to provide that. And you have a role in it. It's not just these other people. No, you have a role in it. And that has to become very clear why that is. And, you know, it's not going to be happy times necessarily. People don't like to hear that whatever they think is wrong. But it is part of the job. You have to find a way of communicating that because otherwise our students are going to suffer. So being student-centered just doesn't mean appeasing people. It just means, what is the structure and infrastructure that supports them? Is it there? Because if it's not there, it needs to be there.
So I want to thank our amazing panel for joining us today, sharing their trials and lessons learned. And thank you to the audience for your questions. Thank you, Ramin, for leading and shepherding the group. Excuse me. They have earned a 15-minute break. So I'm going to start my timer now, and feel free to step away from your screen, refresh, and we will see you in 15.
Thank you guys so much for
Thanks
your
a lot,
advice.
everybody. It was great seeing you all.
Thank you.
Back from our break. So I'm going to restart our recording. And the next part of our program today is going to be all about the 6 domains of knowledge. I know there were just a handful of you that were struggling to get into Brightspace, but hopefully some of those kinks have been worked out, and Allie has been busy behind the scenes getting everyone access. And our lead instructor for the Brightspace environment has joined us. So I want to officially welcome Dr. Lee Diazzi. She will be a prominent presence in the online space, but she is live with us today to walk you through a foundational piece of the program. And we've made this very interactive. So get ready to roll up your hopefully short sleeves today on a hot day. And get busy. So welcome, Lee. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I've got this PowerPoint set up, but you also have the directions in the announcements in Brightspace, so you can actually access it when you get into your groups. So how many people have heard of the Jigsaw teaching strategy? Anybody? Yeah, okay, great. So this is not going to be something new for some of you. We thought that it would be in the best interest to be able to have everyone get into groups so that you could actually work together to kind of really get a sense of what these domains are. So the purpose is to deepen the understanding of the leadership domains, learn as a group expert, then teach others. And then we're going to have 2 rounds of breakout rooms and a whole group debrief at the very end. So we've got 6 different groups. We've got the 6 different domains. Each group will have their own domain. You would like to have each group have an assign a note taker and a spokesperson. For step 2, we are going to mix the groups. So then everyone becomes an expert in a different group. So then you can kind of explain what the biggest takeaways that you learned on the domains and what that looks like. Each group is going to have 20 minutes. And then we're going to return to the main room, share key takeaways from the discussions, and reflect on how the domains connect and apply to leadership. Keep your explanations clear and engaging, use real world examples, and focus on practical application as a department chair. So that was it in a pretty brief overview. Does anyone have any questions before you go into your groups? Any questions?
Where can we find the PowerPoint?
So I actually put the directions in the announcement in Brightspace, so you can actually pull that up when you get into your groups.
And I know my announcements get pushed to my inbox. So if you have your
email yep.
open, you can get to it right there.
Yes.
Hey,
Any other questions?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Would you mind to go back to your previous slide? Because I just want to take a screenshot of it. Because you said
absolutely.
Like...
Okay. Oops. Hold on.
Sorry, I'm confused. I'm in Brightspace. I'm looking in announcements, but I don't see should there be a link to your PowerPoint?
Nope, it's all just directions. It's a word. I pasted all of the directions as just words.
Okay, so that's the same thing that you sent in the email that got automatically sent in the email. So that's all we need. Okay, got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Jacqueline,
Yes.
I think it's called Welcome to Chair Academy. Do you see that
Yes.
announcement?
I think Julianne has a question too. She has her hand raised.
The very
Okay,
last
go.
slide, sorry, the very last
The
slide.
last slide. Okay.
Thank you.
Oops. That one.
Thank you.
Julianne, you have your hand raised. Do you have a question?
I do. It says read any assigned materials and discuss key ideas. So are the assigned materials there in Brightspace? So whatever domain we
Yes.
get, we click on week 1. And then, so if it's know yourself, you click on the know yourself and review
Correct.
that. Okay.
Yes. And that's the information. Also, there is the workbook is in there as well. But if you just read what we have written for the Brightspace, each of those domains, that will help.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? No? Are we good?
Okay, I can open
Okay.
up the breakout rooms if you'd like.
Yes.
Okay, all right, I'll open them up right now. You should see something pop up on your screen for you to join the breakout room. Do you see something on your screen? Anyone?
It came and went.
How do we know which breakout room to join?
Yeah, that's
Which,
the,
which room?
Carolyn, can you help me with that actually? Because I don't think I have that list
Yeah.
of
No,
assignments.
so
A little join a breakout room in the lower right-hand corner.
It disappeared though. It just disappeared.
I just click
So
on
if
mine
you
and it popped
click
back
on
up.
more,
Yeah.
if you click on more, it says breakout rooms and then there's
Oh,
24.
got it. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Got it. Okay. So,
There's
so
Thanks,
which
Julia.
which group do we join?
one? Yeah.
Oh.
yeah, Lee, we didn't pre-assign people, so I can manually put just like evenly distribute them. It's just gonna take me a minute. So
Yeah,
anybody
that
wants to,
works.
Yeah, I
have a little
can.
side conversation, we can.
So is it just random, Carolyn? Because I can help you if you want.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
we could
it
keep the
won't take
same
me.
groups we had before if we knew our group
Yeah,
number.
there were
and-
7. There were 7 though,
Oh.
so it's okay. I appreciate the can-do attitude. This is gonna be random.
So I have a question that the manual that the department chair virtual academy manual that's in Brightspace, will we be using that?
Yes, there, when you go into Brightspace on some of the information that you're going to learn about, they actually tell you what page to use and to go
Okay.
into the manual.
I just
Yes.
printed it out, so I was curious. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, the breakouts are all set. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on your toes, Allie.
No, you're totally fine. I'm glad that you took the reins because I wasn't sure actually. So I was like,
So,
Carolyn.
All right, and Aaron, you should be in, which room is he in?
he is in,
I put everybody somewhere. Where did he?
When
I don't see his name in it.
It kicked me out.
Oh, if it kicked you out. All right, let me put you in a new room.
Yeah, he was supposed to be in Know Your Team.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll put you in a small group. Know yourself. There we go. There, he's in there. Good.
Well, then the only other potential issue is we have to look at all the groups and then reassign them into, so they each get group 1, only one person from each of the group is in there, group 2, group 3, group.
Okay. So let me look at the assignments now.
Yeah.
And maybe Allie and I can come up with a strategy of how to do this. How much time? They have 20 minutes in there?
Yep, they still have 16. We can always give them an extra minute or 2.
Yeah. All right, so Allie, does that make sense? Like we'll have to look at where they are now and then put them in a new, move just one person from the room to a different group.
Oh, just one person.
Like, so we've
Yeah.
got Know Yourself. It's Aaron, Ching, and Yo Quinn. So we'll move one of those three into Know Your Skills. right? And then
Okay.
one person from Know Your Skills, Andrew, Jacqueline, Margaret, or Rita, move one of them into Know Yourself.
Okay.
Like swap them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay if we swap?
Yeah, we can just swap them. Yeah, I think
Do we have
that's
to
a
keep
great idea.
Do we need to keep track of these trades too?
The only thing I'm looking at for under Know Yourself, there's only 3 people.
Yeah. Well, first,
Same thing with Know Your Team.
maybe we should screenshot the assignments now. Why don't we do that?
Yeah.
Screenshot
Yeah.
this. Oh, Jack.
So underneath, I'm looking at all the names. It says plan next session. Does anybody know what that is?
No.
Create one breakout room. So you can, so I just opened it up. It says create one breakout room. You can actually create 2. And then we could actually ask them, all right, do we have everybody back? Yes, so we have everybody back. Was everybody able to see the messages that I posted? I put some comments in while you were in your breakout rooms.
I didn't
No.
see.
Okay.
No, I didn't see that.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do from here. We have another breakout room. We were talking as a group trying to figure out how to get you to there. So at this point, so we wanted everyone to figure out what domain you would go to next. But how about we do it this way? The domain that you're in, that you're the expert. Now I want you to pick another domain that you're really curious about, that you feel like you need a little bit more extra support. And then we'll do it from there. I don't know if we're going to end up getting 6 or what because of the number of people that we have. So how does that sound, Carolyn?
That works for me. And I did see one hand go up, so we might have a question.
Okay.
Jen?
Question.
Sorry, I have a kind of remedial question, which is when we went into our groups, there was still some remaining confusion about how, like, what exactly we're supposed to be talking about as a group in relation to the bullet points. And then there's also in our domain, there was a link to a survey. And we concluded that the survey was not something we were going to do right now because it seemed more like introspective. So we talked about the bullet points, but we weren't sure if you're supposed to be talking about them like very philosophically, like what is a team and who do you include in that definition? Or if it was something really rather more concrete, like, oh, my team is my faculty, but also my staff and the interns that we have in the department. So for me, it would be helpful if we could just take a step back and talk through some of that. Thanks.
Okay, and so when you're asking me that, are you talking about right now? You want to talk about that? Yes, okay. So there's 2 parts to this. The Brightspace itself is its own informational area. And I know for week 2, I believe it's week 2, it's just Brightspace, not everyone's meeting. So what we really tried to do is we tried to add more information on the Brightspace end so that when you all got together for these meetings, you could really just do a lot of the talking. So for the domains, we really just wanted you all to be able to say, what is Know Yourself? What are the bullet points? Not necessarily the videos and all the other heavy information. So as you're going through the program, you can kind of just say, hey, now I know all the domains, because as we move through, you're going to really get deep into the domains and apply them. So this was really just surface. Like, what is the domain? How do I use it? How does that connect to being a chair?
I think one of the things that this will help you if what we did in our group 6 is we went to the introduction to see a description of all the domains together. Then we went down and looked for our domain and clicked the drop down box. So it gave us a little more information on that. Then we got out of the introduction and went specifically to the domain under M1. And there's like 3 or 4 paragraphs. We read through that, which gave us the bullet points that I think you just described, if that helps. I think that's a more sequential way to help people think about it.
Yeah, so very basic. questions. Was that helpful, Jen?
So, I mean, we did all of that in my group, but I think the question was for the bullet points, we're discussing it. Like, what is our charge as a group? We're discussing the bullet points together, but is it a kind of philosophical discussion, or is it very concrete about our specific examples? Are we pulling them together? Are we going round robin? Like, are there any specific instructions there, or really you just want us to read the domains?
So what I would recommend is when you get into your into the new group, you're going to say, okay, I'm know your team. And what I really took away with knowing your team from the information that we discussed as a group is these things. And it could be the bullet points, but if you can like add some extra something maybe that had happened as a chair, you know, kind of like a light bulb moment. This is what clicked for me. So this is really where I'm really starting to understand this particular domain.
Yeah. In the
Can I
So
try
a
to
little
give an
bit of all of
example of that? I think this, can I give an example? Sorry, I'm a little assertive.
I would say just to add the context of in the role of a chair, right? Because for most of
Yes.
you, 60%,
Yes.
this is brand new. So use the experience in the group and what we've talked about and what we heard the panel discuss.
Anything that you can make a connection to that domain.
Yeah.
To be able to explain it to someone else.
So I look at it like if the domain 6 is know your context, right? So what is that and how does that impact the chair? The context, I would say, from what we gathered as a team, was that you need to understand internal and external influences. So for example, how does the organization operate? How does the flow of money take place? How does Perkins funding or grants work? Whereas or the other thing is students. What's the population that we have? Do we have any changes in our population? Maybe demographics changing, or maybe we have less number of students coming. Or another context could be politically. Politically, we could have politicians maybe not supporting funding for education, which could affect your programs. Or politically, it could be that they want new programs for vocation, or the Gen Eds, when we talked about earlier. Those are all driven externally from your institution. So that's how I viewed this process. So for domain 6, we would share something like that. I don't know if that was correct, but I just tried to do a little demo as a teacher. So maybe if that's not what you were looking for, then we can change. If that's what you're looking for, then everybody has a better picture.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And if you're brand new as a chair, I think that what Carolyn was saying is if you can, within the discussion that you had, if you can grab something from somebody else as their experience, that's great too. Okay, so is there any other questions before we send you off?
Are we being
Okay.
sent off, or are we picking where we're going?
Yes, you are going to pick. So as suggested, we have 4 breakout rooms. So if you go down to more, I'm going to open all rooms. So you can pick 1 through 4. If you were, because of the number of people that we had, you may or may not have extra people in there that are, you know, double people. So you
But
should
there's
be.
no domain attached to each room, so we don't know which domain each room is. I think we'll just go into the room, talk about all 6 domain as a group instead
Yes.
of going back and forth. How's that? We just pick
I
a
agree.
room, go in there, talk about all 6 domains.
Yes. Looks like everybody's starting to go. How did everyone Did everyone enjoy your time together in your big group? Yes. Okay, I see some yeses. So we had 4 groups. You're all talking about the domains, and just to kind of back up a little bit, it's just really getting to know what they are, and so that we can use them throughout the academy. So does anyone have a speaker from each of the group that would like to kind of debrief everyone?
So in room 1, we had, does room 1 have a spokesperson?
I
That
don't
was the
remember
group
what
with
our group
Carmel.
was.
Oh, who was
I
that?
can go if you want. I mean,
Oh, you're in group 1, that
we
would be
didn't.
great.
Okay, we didn't have a. I realized like we didn't pick someone to be our spokesperson, but what I want to say was when we started out, I think we were a little lost, right? We weren't sure what it is that we were supposed to be doing. But I found that once we got to talking to each other about even the, the small amount of information that we had, I mean, we went into a whole different direction. And so we focused on, like ours was Know Your Student, and it had to do with the decline in enrollment. And then we realized where that would take us. We talked about, so not having supportive services, not, having the adult learner or the single parent learner with childcare issues, with, having to work, not having the financial support. And then I realized, like, although we didn't have a lot of information, I still was able to get a lot out of what we were talking about. And then when I went to my second group, the connections, looking at the different domains, kind of, it all made sense, even though we didn't have a lot of information to begin with. So for me, I realized that sometimes when we think that we don't have enough, when we actually have enough. It just depends on where we as department chair place the information that we have and how we need to build on whatever little information that we have. I'm like sitting here like, oh my goodness, I know this is really good. So thank you. And I will shut up.
Anything else from the members of room 1? Okay. Lee, I don't know if you want to try to go to each of the groups, but I can see who's in these rooms. If that's helpful.
Sure. So we have room 2. Would someone like to speak from room 2? We have Sushma. I'm not sure how to say that. I apologize. Margaret, Andrew, Carol, Melissa, Rodina.
Yeah, I don't remember what room number. If you could go by the domain that was assigned to that room, it might help.
So the second group breakout, we just had 4 rooms. They didn't have a name. And then people just chose. So it was just a bunch of mix.
Right. I thought you were going by, you want somebody to speak for each domain.
You can do either or. You can do it by the domain or you can do it by the group.
We'd love to hear from you, Carol. You're
Yeah.
in room 2 too. So this is perfect timing if you have something to add.
Well, I was originally in the Know Your Institution, and Kelly was our spokesperson. I don't know if he's still here, but so if he wants to chime in about that. My experience with the second group was there were multiple people from the same original room. So we didn't end up with anybody from Know Yourself or Know Your Team, but the ones that we did have were good discussions, and I have some nice little short bullet points now that are sort of helping me put the puzzle together.
I just want to add to that, Carol. That's exactly what this is. It's a puzzle. That's why they call it the jigsaw puzzle. And as you keep moving forward, you're going to keep getting more information and just kind of build on top of it. So nice. All right. So for room 3,
So
we
group
had
three,
oh,
I was in the original, I was elected speaker.
okay.
And we had in our group Samantha and Jen. And we talked through three of so our domain was Know Your Team. And there were 3 questions, and of those 3 questions, we came up with characteristics and ideas we kind of focus on. So the first one, was knowing the roles of people, right, on your team. And so things like who's running different things, who are the stakeholders, knowing who is responsible for things so you can be able to delegate, right, more effectively. And then Samantha talked about who she thought would be an outstanding team. And she talked about, or an experience she had on an outstanding team. And she talked about her first time publishing a paper and how her voice was heard by the faculty and how that similarly needs to be the case now that she's chair, and the importance in her voice and also the importance in the voice around them. So making sure that everyone's heard. And that leads to this like really good team experience. And then Jen talked about her dream team, and she was thinking the characteristics that would make her dream team were active learners, people who are self-aware, and people who are self-motivated.
Nice. Okay. So for group 4, room 4, we have Ashok, Jacqueline, Ashley Lynn, Hale and Queen, if anyone wants to speak from that group.
Ashok just spoke,
Yeah.
but
You did a great job.
yep.
Mm. Ashley, I know you had some feedback about the way we're doing this. So, thanks for rolling with this. Like, this is our first time doing the jigsaw, and with the way the registrations came in, we're doing our best. So thank you for bearing with us. But it is a jigsaw, and I hope that you all are taking away, like what Carmel said. These are all little fragments of things about leadership that we're going to pick up over the summer. And you don't know when you're going to need to pull this out and use it. And now you have a network of people, and we're trying to expose you to, other chairs who are also in the same situation. So thanks for bearing with us. And I know it's tough to not have clear instruction.
And we were, both Carolyn and I, we were talking about the clear instruction, and I know it's hard, especially as a chair. We're all pretty type A people, and we want that information, and we want it clear and correct. So I appreciate everyone's time. I hope this little piece of information will help, and I will be the one on the other side of the screen looking at the discussion boards and all of that. So I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you so much, Lee. I'm glad that we had some live time with you in a virtual classroom. And I see some video introductions in Brightspace. So, when you have time in between today and Thursday, you can go back there, post one of your own, watch your fellow colleagues. But I'm going to transition and say thank you to Lee for getting us started with 6 domains, and transition to making the case for why spending 7 hours in your Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue course is a good investment in your time. So that's my goal for the next until 4:30. And so I'm going to share my screen and pull up my platform here. Let's see. These will not be slides that I post in Brightspace, but I did post the introduction slides that you saw me do earlier. This is a proprietary training software, but you have access to all of these materials in the course. And the vendor, Crucial Learning, did verify that they sent out access information today. So you should all have that when you are ready. So I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. So let me go. Here we go. All right. So Getting Unstuck is the first of 9 chapters. And I know Allie is still with us. So Allie, if you can tell me if you see any virtual hands go up, because I can't see their videos and my screen at the same time.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
raise your virtual hands if you have read Crucial Conversations. It's a New York Times bestseller for many, many years. I think it was published in around like 1996. Good. Ching, awesome. And I will encourage you to start building your library of resources as a leader. This is a $20 or $25 investment to put on your shelf. You know, the license for you to go through this is a couple of $100. And you'll have it access for a year. But add this book to your library resource because it is invaluable. And I still, just to show you how, even as a certified Crucial Conversations trainer, I use these summary cards. See, Ching's shaking her head because each of these 9 chapters, you see them up here, there are very practical skills that you will start to identify. And I'm gonna take you through chapter 1 right now, getting unstuck, because this will hopefully make the case of why this is a good investment in your time. I've already told you where leaders get hung up, and it's like not having the conversation or trying to have the conversation and it doesn't go well. So that's why we've embedded this as part of Chair's training. But yes, to have these very practical skills that I go back to when I get, you know, like the nervous feeling of, oh, that I'm going to have to talk about this with someone, and it is not going to be a comfortable situation, right? Leadership is not me putting on my most comfortable pair of yoga pants. It is not. So when I get that feeling and I'm trying to avoid the conversation, or they tried to have it with me and it didn't go well, I go back to my skills, and there are practical things that you can apply and think about before you even get into it again. So getting unstuck. Let's see. All right. So how do we even know what is holding us up, right? You all are beginning the fall semester as chair, and maybe you can already think about, this is the big problem I'm going to have to face, like the elephant in the room. So you may know very clearly where the previous chair is stuck, or where you tried to get unstuck before and you're just not there. So Allie is going to help us break you into random pairs in the breakouts. But I'm going to give you 2 minutes once you're in there to discuss, how did you get your way as a child? You know, what did, you know, it look like for you? How did you negotiate getting what you wanted?
Yeah, just give me 1 second to set up the breakout rooms. Thank you so much. Hold on.
Sorry, is this some Brightspace?
No, you're just going to go into a breakout chat. You don't need to have, you can close Brightspace for now and focus just on the Zoom. We're going to open you into a random pair, and will give you 2 minutes to just discuss this very simple question of, how did you get your way as a child? It's unique for everybody.
It's a very personal question for people we don't know. Just saying.
It is. Yeah, it is. And we're hoping to advance this skill from childhood to chair, right?
1 sec, I'm just assigning. I'm almost done.
Carolyn, what was the name of the book you recommended?
It's Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue. I have a copy of it on my desk here.
Do we need to buy the book for this institute? No, we're just okay.
No, I'm just recommending, you know, if you're going to continue on in this role, this is a great investment, $20 to $25 for this, because then it's got all those chapters summarized for you. You're going to go through and you're going to learn it, but I really like to go back to it. I still do all these years later.
All right, so I opened up the breakout rooms. You should have a pop-up that asks you to go join. Hi, did you receive the pop-up? Oh, he got it. All right.
I was gonna say maybe he got put with me because I just said decline.
Yeah, it's okay. I accidentally put you in because I was
Oh,
just
that's okay.
clicking ahead. So I put you in there by accident and then I moved someone else. So there's one room that has 3 because it's an uneven number.
Do I need to pause the recording or no?
Oh yeah, pause.
Some of you, and no one feel obligated to share, but is there anybody who wants to share? How did you get your way as a child? Kelly's laughing. I think he wants to share, but that's just my gut.
No, we were just talking and saying that this going in that small group was just a way to lead us up to talking about it in a big group.
Well, not everyone has to, and we don't have enough airtime for everyone, but I figured that, I'm an extrovert. There's got to be another few of us out there.
Well, for me, mine was pretty much unremarkable. I didn't have a lot of wants, and so I didn't ask for a lot of things, and I didn't have to discuss for anything. So for me, it was if I felt that I needed something above food and hugs and clothes and playtime, I just asked, and
Yeah.
my parents just sort of work things together, so whatever.
They anticipated your needs very well. That's awesome. Maybe as chair, we can do that too for our faculty.
Yeah.
Julianne.
I didn't get my way. No was no. And so there was no negotiating in my home. You could cry, but you could cry until you cried it out because you were not going to get your way. I learned kind of quickly that no meant no. And so that was kind of it.
Yeah. I think as a child, I immediately started a long life of negotiations. Like I quickly learned, if I figure out what they want, then I can use that, like with my brother, if he wanted to do something. Yeah. So I was an early barterer and negotiating. But yeah, it's interesting, especially the dynamic in your house, like where you fall in birth order and all of that. But we use these early skills to try to get the things that we need when our caregivers can't anticipate them and meet our needs. But now, as a leader, we can rely on more practical skills to be able to communicate and stay in dialogue and get the things that we need. And we need things as a chair. We need to advance our goals. And, there are just certain objectives that we're trying to meet. So we need to figure out our communication skills. All right. Some of us have a preferred style of going to silence or avoiding the conversations totally. I'll raise my hand on this one. I know I'm an extrovert, but I avoid difficult conversations naturally. If it was up to me, they would go away, and I have to force myself to get into those uncomfortable conversations when I know the stakes are high and important. Some people lean into the conflict and sometimes can go overboard. And so I know it says violence. It's not always physical violence, but a violence, in a conflict and verbal conflict. So we naturally, and we can do both. We can have situations where we are volatile, and then some where we're just totally avoiding. So this is a natural human thing. And as a part of the course, there's a style under stress survey for you to take. So you'll have better insight into what your natural style is. All right, so there are things that we need. We are stuck somewhere, right? This whole topic is where am I stuck? So it's getting you to identify what those crucial conversations are going to be as a chair. And then the solution is to be able to identify them and not go into our natural pattern of silence or violence, and be able to stay in dialogue so that you can achieve the objective you're aiming for. So this is the model for crucial conversations, and we're aiming towards the center, right? We want to add to the pool of shared meaning, which is the dialogue. And how do we do that? First, we work on ourselves. This was eye-opening for me when I went through this training 8 years ago. And I thought, oh, crucial conversations, I'm going there and I'm going to learn how to be more persuasive. I'm going to say the things more clearly and get what I need that way. But there are a number of things that we need to focus on ourselves. First, what are the things we're avoiding or where are we stuck? Then starting with heart, like what is it that I really want? and then be able to master our stories of like, what is the motivation for me, and what is my story? So you're going to learn all the things to be considering before you even get into that dialogue or invite anyone else into it with you. And then there will be skills that you'll use during the conversation. So the topics of those chapters are learning to look, and then there are 2 chapters devoted to making sure that the environment is safe. So looking to see if others feel safe to stay in this dialogue with you, and then how to give other people more sense of safety to stay in it. And exploring others' paths. So like making sure that you're listening and hearing what the truth is for the other person. That's how, staying in dialogue is possible. And then as a leader, it's really important for you to close that loop and follow up and take some actions after the conversation. So who does what by when, and that follow up. So there are some things in the chapter at the end of the book on making sure that that gets done. That's chapter 9. All right. So what is this pool of shared meaning? They define it as the facts, experiences, opinions, and feelings held by participants in a conversation that are understood and appreciated by all. I know sometimes facts can be something that feels like it's hard to even like nail them down these days, especially in the political arena. But, for the purposes of this training, that is the definition they use. And I think it was Aaron that was asking me what was the book I recommended. This is the book. You don't all have to run out and buy it because you're going to learn these skills in the online course. You've got a license and you have a year to learn and be able to refer back to this. But if you want to start building your library as a leader, this is one that's $20 or $25 and definitely something you can lend out. If there are 2 faculty that are in a conflict and you want to give them some practical skills on how to start to work things out, this is something that I highly recommend. All right, and there are lots of resources that you can continue sharpening these skills and using them if you sign up for the after training, and it will refer to this in the online course as well. So for instance, around Thanksgiving time, when I know I'm going to be around lots of different family members, these are skills that you can use in your personal life too. And so just thinking about different times where you're going to get into conflict, it's helpful for me to read some of these articles and just like have a quick refresher, and the emails that you can sign up for will give you that. All right, so we are going to watch a video with Bruce and Michelle. And I want you to think about Michelle in this video and start to like identify and notice the different issues that she's facing in this. I'm going to do a reshare because I don't think when I shared it, I optimized the video sound. Let me just do that.
There's I don't know if you answered this, Carolyn. I'm sorry if you did, but there was someone asking if they're going to have access to these resources on Brightspace.
So there was an email that went out from Crucial Learning today, which will give you a registration link so that you can begin your 7-hour Crucial Conversations course. It's outside of Brightspace. So this is a license that as you paid your registration fee to be a part of this academy, you also get access to Crucial Conversations training. So it's separate. It's outside of Brightspace.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Any other questions about it?
Someone said, could you please post the link here, the one that you just shared?
It's in the course. So when I look at it, I would, but I think that's changed. So this is like a legacy version of the slide deck. So refer to the after resources in your online course.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Well, your team said over a week to come up with a plan. How long do you think it'll take to bring this project in?
It'll take just over 6 months. 6 months and a week to be precise. Is that what you were thinking?
Well, this may be a stretch, but I was thinking we finish the project by the end of the quarter.
Well, it's a good thing we're talking about it now, before we've made any commitments, because there's no way to finish it by then. That's half the usual time.
Well, that's why I brought you onto this job in the first place. You have a way to do the impossible.
Well, thanks for the confidence, but there's just no way to get it done. This is really impossible.
Perhaps I didn't make myself clear enough on how important this is. We're not here to argue about what's possible. It's your job to figure this out and get it done by the end of the quarter. Project launches are at stake here. And besides, I've already agreed to the date. The accelerated schedules are already in the master plan, and everyone's counting on us.
Wait a minute. You've already made a commitment? You agreed to a deadline before talking to me about whether or not it was even feasible?
Management needs this to happen in order for us to hit plan. Are you forgetting how hard I worked to get you promoted to this position? You know what I said about you? I said you were a team player. Was I mistaken?
All right. No one said they couldn't hear the video. I couldn't hear it for some reason, but all right. So before we move on to the next thing, what did you think Michelle was feeling? What were some of the issues you could identify?
And she was obviously frustrated, and she was looking for him in some ways for support, but it wasn't really giving it to her.
Yeah, and Julianne, you want to add to that?
Kind of betrayed. Like he did this and didn't talk to her and is going to leave her out to dry. And also, kind of assuming that she should feel gratitude toward him for getting her this position. And it almost sounded like a quid pro quo, almost to me. So that's kind of what I took away,
Okay. What makes a conversation crucial? There are 3 elements to it. When you have opposing opinions, there are strong emotions involved, and the stakes are high. So that's when you know that it is a crucial conversation, much like the one that Bruce and Michelle were having. All right, so we're going to see 2 videos. The first one, she's going to try one approach. You let me know how she does.
I said you were a team player. Was I mistaken?
No, I want to be a team player, but...
But what?
Well, I've already got a staff that's spread too thin, and I don't think there are enough hours in the day.
Are you saying that you're not committed to the company's success?
Well, I guess we'll do whatever it takes.
I knew I could count on you. One more thing. I took Williams off your team to put him on another job. You'll have to do your best to get by without him.
Okay. What did you think? How'd she do?
She didn't really assert herself. I feel like she, in the first video, it sounded like she just kept saying over and over again, this was impossible, this was impossible. And then she was sort of like, well, I guess we'll try to make it happen. So she didn't really, if it's really impossible, it seems like she had to continue to say that. Yeah.
Else want to add to that? Kelly?
I think she missed the opportunity to, set down some parameters of what would make it possible. Like saying, we need to work these extra hours. Are you willing to, okay overtime? Who else can I bring onto my team? These are things that she could have negotiated with, maybe it would have a different ending at that point, right? Rather than losing a person, gaining some help.
All right, we're going to give her another try, okay? So one approach, we can see some issues. Let's see how she does this time.
I said you were a team player. Was I mistaken?
No, I want to be a team player, but...
But what?
You know what? I don't like that you're saying that I have to agree with management's commitment in order to be a team player.
What do you mean?
You agree to a deadline that you know I can't accept. Behind my back, no less. Then you say I'm not a team player if I push back. That's totally unfair and it feels manipulative to me.
So are you saying we can't count on you?
No, you can count on me. but not to give in to ridiculous demands, so we end up making promises that we can't keep. Maybe others around here will pretend to accept impossible deadlines and then make excuses about why they can't make them. But that's not how I work. I have integrity. Is that clear?
Crystal clear.
All right, who has something to say about this approach? How'd she do?
I think she put her foot down. I mean, that's important, especially if you want to really achieve something. Kelly was suggesting that she did not miss the opportunity to clearly define her parameters in this case. And she made it very clear to him that, he can't go and talk behind her back and just make promises. And the conversation happened pretty fast. So.
Letitia, please add something.
I think I liked where she was going up until probably close to the end. I don't know about the whole, is that clear, and getting up and walking away. Like, if you want this ultimately to work for both of you, I feel like she was on the right track. And then, like Kelly had said earlier, at that time, I think that's when you pull out, like, okay, well, this is what we have. How are we going to get there? Let's work on this together so that we can get there. But I don't know if she ended it properly.
I agree with you. Yeah,
Yeah, I
leaving it.
agree.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So when
Well,
we're
can
in
I just say something, please?
Sure.
We didn't talk about what he's doing wrong, right? Because there's a lot that he's doing wrong. The ad hominem attack, for example, bullying and being manipulative. And, I could see how in that situation, being on the receiving end of that, it's very difficult in the moment to perhaps respond in the most effective way. But to her credit, she advocated for herself and her team in both moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, there's a little bit of deception and lying on his part, right? Because he's clearly already taking Bruce, who was off the team, Williams off the team, and wasn't laying that out at the beginning. So there's like a part of me wonders, like, what was their relationship before this? Like, did she know that this was going to happen, or is he just like a live wire all of a sudden? And in that case, he has a lot of issues.
Yeah,
I agree with everything that's being said here. But I think also, the tone of language there, when she uses the term ridiculous, somebody can take that rather personal. Was this his, at that point, neither one of them is talking about the project. Both of them are talking about each other, right? And when that happens, then it's really hard to come to solution sets about that topic, about the problem right there. And so, getting up and going away is probably, using that type of language and then ending the discussion without further discussion is probably bad on her part.
So one thing I will say is the context, and I think we're all becoming chairs right now, so this is super important, is that the context is set by that guy, right? Like, he's the boss, he set that context. So if you see personal attacks flying back and forth, that's partly, and I think this is to Jacqueline's point, the context that he set up in that situation, right? And her saying ridiculous, if you really think that's a personal attack, then her leaving that situation before they volley more personal attacks at each other is actually like kind of reasonable, I think.
But there's a better way, right? So let's get back to what Crucial Conversations offers us. Because in the moment, we think that we have to either flee or not talk about it or respond, with violence. And so there is another option that this course gives us some skills to be able to do and to stay in dialogue. Why do we think that we do this? We go back to like our reptilian brain where we're trying to fight or flight, and that rush of adrenaline makes us go into that mode. And so, modern day world, we're not, running to save our lives from a lion attacking us, but it might be a situation like a Bruce coming at us, and taking our resource. And so we think that we have to respond in this way because it's part of our wiring. So this is our brain during the crucial conversation, right? We go back to those natural instincts. I'm not going to spend a lot of time and put you into breakouts for this activity, but I think our panel discussion did a good job of coming up with some common situations and challenges that you as a chair may face. And I think throughout this academy together, you'll come up with even more. And hopefully you'll feel comfortable enough to share the ones that you're going to need to address, and you get like sweaty palms thinking about it, or just a little bit of trying to either avoid it or do your best to get through it. And you can use these skills also in your personal life too. So maybe you've tried to have this conversation with a loved one, and it just always goes in the same circle. So this may give you some skills to be able to tap into some of those conversations in your family. All right. We have 10 more minutes left, but I do want you to watch this video. This is one of the 3 authors of Crucial Conversations. This is Joseph Grenny, and he is making the case for crucial conversations in his own life and why he wrote this book. So I'm gonna watch this.
Anytime you find yourself stuck, there are crucial conversations keeping you there. Our focus in this training won't be on communication. It will be on results. And what tends to keep us stuck and keeps us from producing results in our lives, in our organizations, in our relationships, are crucial conversations we're either not holding or not holding well. Let's begin exploring how to dramatically improve results by eavesdropping on a crucial conversation. A vice president, we'll call Kevin, stepped into a meeting with the CEO of the company to decide on a new location for their corporate offices. The first 2 execs presented their arguments for their top choices, and as expected, their points were greeted with penetrating questions from the full team. Then Chris, the CEO, pitched his preference, one that was both unpopular and potentially disastrous. However, when people tried to disagree or push back, Chris became slightly defensive. First, he raised an eyebrow. Then he raised a finger. Finally, he raised his voice, just a little. But it wasn't long until the discussion shifted from, is this a good idea, to when should we implement your ingenious plan, in spite of the team's significant reservations. When we began our research over 2 decades ago, our burning question was, are there a handful of moments that disproportionately affect organizational performance, team performance, and even relationship success? And if so, what are those moments? We found that much of whether you achieve stellar results or get stuck can be predicted by watching you during just a few minutes a day. Those moments when there are opposing opinions about a high-stakes issue and emotions are running strong. We later came to call these moments crucial conversations, because our research showed that they profoundly affect many outcomes, like projects, productivity, safety, diversity, quality, and even the happiness and duration of a marriage. And it's not the riskiness of the conversation that determines success or failure, it's how we handle them. That's what brought us to study this VP Kevin sitting in a high-stakes meeting. When it seemed everyone was shutting down and letting the CEO have his way, Kevin spoke up.
Hey, Chris, can I check something out with you?
Everyone in the room stopped breathing. But Kevin plunged on ahead. He in essence told the CEO that he appeared to be violating his own decision-making guidelines. He was subtly using his power to push his preference rather than candidly discussing the pros and cons. But the way he did it was not just candid, it was disarmingly caring.
The decision then.
Chris was quiet for a moment.
You're absolutely right. I've been trying to force my opinion on you. Let's go back.
Try again.
Can you see what Kevin did here? He found a way to be both candid and respectful. It was pure magic. The team, by the way, didn't choose the boss's first preference for location, and now years later it's clear they chose right. But equally important, the skills Kevin used to handle this moment actually strengthened his trust and relationship with Chris. To date, we've spent over 10,000 hours watching people all over the world who have found a way to discuss remarkably risky things in astoundingly respectful ways. That's what all of us need to learn to do more consistently. And when we do, we get unstuck. Relationships improve, teams strengthen, organizational results are profoundly improved, all from handling just a few crucial conversations in a much better way.
I know we have just a few minutes left, so I'm going to take you through the 2 skills in this first chapter. First, it's going to be identifying where you're stuck. And the second skill is going to be using their CPR to identify what type of conversation you need to get into. I think we all know what it means to be stuck as a chair, right? It's, there's a problem there that you just can't solve. There's a goal, you're trying to achieve it. And so unbundling with these CPR skills is identifying whether it is a relationship about one specific instance of a problem, that's a content conversation, or is this something that's been a recurring problem that you have to address? And you're talking more about the pattern of behavior. Or is it the relationship now that's at stake because something is going wrong and you've got to address that there's trust that's been broken, or whether somebody knows what they actually need to do. But the relationship is the issue that's at stake. All right, so we are very dangerously almost out of time, and I want to make sure that we honor the end of the time, and I allow you a chance to ask questions. So I'm going to stop sharing this. You will have full access to the 9 chapters online. My goal was to make the case for why 7 hours without, your colleagues there to learn this maybe 4th of July week, why it's important. And I hope I've done that. But what questions do you have? Ching.
Yes, so Carolyn, a few questions. So first, could you please send me that email on Crucial Conversation license? It seems that I didn't get that one.
So, I told everybody not to multitask during the 4-hour academy, right? And I broke my own rule. Here I was and I made a mistake because I was multitasking. I sent it, but I meant to blind copy all of you, and I never put the blind copy emails in there. So after we end today, then I will send it out for real.
Okay, thank you so much. And we are going to, as a part of our assignment, are we going to read the entire 9 chapters along the way during the course?
So the book is not a part of the training, right? I was just optionally saying that you may want to buy the book. What you are going to get in this email is a link to take the online course. It's a self-paced 7-hour course. And in the course, you will be exposed to more videos like you saw, more activities. You're going to learn the skills of each of those 9 chapters and have some opportunity in there to engage with the content there.
I see, that's what you're referring to. And the other question, is there any assignment to prepare for Thursday's class?
Yes, you will want to finish the DISC assessment if you haven't already. So everyone, I believe, has that EPIC DISC assessment link. If you don't, please reach out to me as soon as you can. And if you're able to complete that, it'll take about 25 minutes to complete that by the end of the day, Wednesday. That will have you prepared for Thursday afternoon session.
Thank you. And the last question is, the last question, you showed us a link in one of your presentation slides. What's that for, and where can I get that link?
Oh, to learn more at the end of Crucial Conversations?
Yeah, because remember you posted a link in one of the slides. What's that for? That's just the...
Yeah. I will make sure that I find out what the update. I know when I looked at it on the slide, that's not the link anymore.
Oh, what's that for?
Yeah, what I know is at the end of your 7 hours of online training, Crucial Learning is going to offer you more ways to stay engaged with the content. They're going to tell you in the course how to sign up to get their emails or what web link to go to, but I'll find out the web link and make sure that I get it right to you.
Okay, thank you.
When is the 7 hours of crucial conversations that sorry, I thought I heard you said we have a year to do that, or is that sooner?
You will have access to that course for a full year. What I'm
Okay.
asking for you to do between now and your first practice session, which is on July 10th,
Okay.
is to finish the first half of the course. So 3.5 hours of online training on your own time between now and July 10th.
Got it. Okay,
Then
thank you.
you'll have another 3.5 hours to get ready for the second practice session on July 22nd.
Thank you. Clear.